All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in chat can hear me, just push 1. All right, I got a confirmation from the chat. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 440, Economics. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Docket and description beneath the video for you to follow along with. There'll be a link in the chat for you to click on if you want to join the panel and engage in the discussion. Just raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you to advance you to the panel. Just as an FYI, we do not give out financial advice here. If you're looking for a certified financial planner, go to cfp.net, look up one in your area. All right, let me get started with the first item on the docket from MarketWatch.com. AMD price target boosted to $60 at Cowen. Expand this out. Cowen and Co analyst Matthew Ramsey boosted his price target on Advanced Micro Devices Incorporated AMD 0.14% shares to $60 from $47 on Tuesday, with his new target ranking as the second highest among analysts tracked by FactSet. Ramsey sensed a change in tone during conversations on AMD's futures. Our queries continue to shift when, not if, in terms of share gains and earnings per share free cash flow growth, as investors largely no longer question whether or not AMD will gain material x86 share or deliver upon its roadmaps, but instead try to better understand the cadence, magnitude, and competitive roadmap positioning as Intel experiences 14 nanometer supply constraints and roadmap changes. He pointed to AMD's track record of consistent roadmap execution and stability. Now that is Zen 2 7 nanometer product has been launched for desktops, notebooks, and servers. AMD shares are off 0.3% in pre-market trading on Tuesday. This was a few days ago, but they've gained 59% over the past 3 months as the S&P 500 has risen 11%. So we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. Let's see where AMD stock is, because this was on Tuesday that they talked about this. So let's go to Google. See where their stock is at the moment. And let's go to so today it ended at $50.35, but it was trading upwards to $53. So we know that based on all of the actually, let's do the last 5 days. Yeah, so we know that based on the trajectory that the roadmap has for AMD, that they are in a comfortable position of delivering products. So this stock is bound to scale, as the article has been stipulating, has been saying, and what we've been stipulating for the last year and a half, that AMD stock is going to is going to keep continuing to climb up to upwards of $90 a share. It may even go further than that during this next product launch. I predict that it will go higher than what it is right now. $60 seems fairly reasonable for what AMD is valued at. So, but based on their product roadmap, I would say that their trajectory stock wise is going to go up significantly, maybe up to 3 figures by next year. A lot of the new products that they have coming out is going to be groundbreaking. So we'll see what happens. But if it hits 3 figures, I'm not going to be surprised at it. $90. I've said this back in 2018 that it will hit $90 at some point. So that being said, pay attention to the stock ticker on AMD. All right. Get to the next item on the docket. All right. This one is from cdlife.com. Man sentenced for scheming to steal trucking company from owners. Interesting. Federal authorities say that an Indiana man was sentenced to more than 4 years in prison for a fraud scheme and he allegedly perpetrated against the owners of a trucking company. On January 17th, Douglas Ray Thomas was sentenced to 51 months in prison, 2 years of supervised release, and $692,457.13 in restitution in the U.S. District Court of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thomas had previously pled guilty to one count of wire fraud and 1 count of failing to account for and pay over employment taxes. The Internal Revenue Services detailed the scheme. According to the defendant's guilty plea and documents filed in court from September 13th through September 2013 through January 2014, Thomas devised and executed a fraud scheme to gain control over the assets and revenue of Northwest Trucking Incorporated, a transportation company located in Duluth, Minnesota. On October 18th, 2013, Thomas and the former owners of Northwest Trucking entered into a stock purchase agreement in which Thomas agreed to purchase all outstanding shares of the company for $730,000. As part of the agreement, Thomas agreed to make an initial payment within 5 days of closing. Despite failing to make the initial payment as well as subsequent payments pursuant to the purchase agreement, Thomas assumed control of the company in December of 2013 and shortly after began transferring Northwoods Trucking's business revenue into a bank account that Thomas alone controlled. Interesting. According to the defendant's guilty plea and documents filed in court, while he owned and operated the company, Thomas reportedly failed to pay more of the company's liabilities, including fuel and insurance for the company's trucks, payroll to employees, and employment taxes due to the IRS. Instead, Thomas used a significant portion of Northwest Trucking's business revenue to pay personal expenses and debts, including housing, furniture, and a family vacation. The total loss caused by Thomas's fraud scheme is approximately $730,000, in addition to the $57,792.13 in employment taxes that he failed to pay the IRS. So this dude tried to bamboozle the IRS in this scheme. I wonder if anybody else in the chat would have anything to say about this, because I'm not really familiar with trucking companies, but I do know that they were going to pay attention to this sort of discrepancy in revenue, not revenue, but in money being moved around. There's no way that the IRS was going to get, going to let this one slide off the hook. Their computers probably picked this up immediately. All right, let me get to the next item on the docket. All right, this one is from businessinsider.com. Lopez was homeless for 6 months in 2000. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why I jumped all over the place like this. How a formerly homeless sneakerhead built a multi-million-dollar resale empire starting with just $40 to his name. Where's Ty City and all his sneakers? Wannabe and novice resellers looking to break into the industry, which a Cohen & Co. analysis estimated could be worth $6 billion globally by 2025. See Lopez as the typification of success in the field, and it's no surprise why. With 2 physical stores and a website bringing in close to $21 million in sales last year combined, according to Lopez, he is living the sneakerhead's dream, traveling to trade shows and meeting like-minded resellers and making a killing with his wife and co-owner, Joni. But like a lot of people in the field, Lopez didn't find immediate success. Before he formed his business, he spent time homeless in Las Vegas, Nevada, panhandling on the strip. At another low point, he lived on his friend's couch and in a motel and sold his own clothes to stay afloat. Eventually, he picked himself up and got serious about resale. And since the success started rolling in, it hasn't really stopped. We never really focus on the problems, Lopez said on the early days of his business. We only focus on the solutions. But Lopez is more than a standard rags to riches archetype. He's a symbol of hope and possibility for other resellers looking to get into the industry. I think that the fear of failing is what stops people from learning or trying, Lopez said, later adding, no 2 paths are the same. Here's a full story on how Lopez built a multi-million-dollar reselling empire after having just $40 to his name. Lopez was homeless for 6 months in 2000. Lopez was originally from New Jersey, but he came to Las Vegas and Nevada in 2000. Lopez said he was homeless when he first got to Vegas, and he panhandled and sold water on the strip to get by. There's a park on Maryland and Charleston here in Vegas that I lived at for about 6 months, Lopez said. He was first exposed to the resale world when he walked into a mall and saw people lining up days in advance for shoes that were coming out that weekend. He observed the experienced resellers and started to learn more about the industry, eventually taking small jobs to stand in line for different resellers. This is 3 years later with Lopez and Joni, the girl that he met. Lopez eventually got off the streets and got a job with a cell phone company, which he left due to illness in 2012. He met his then girlfriend, Joni Barragan, in November that year and moved in with her and her parents shortly after. In Early 2013, Lopez was eyeing a sneaker that he thought he could do well on the resale market, Nike's Barkley Pulsite Max Area 72. With Barragan's help, Lopez purchased 18 pairs of the shoe when it dropped. He sold them all for $200 over profit. After the sale, Lopez started getting serious about learning everything he could about reselling. The website was called 2J's Kicks, and it launched in 2013. Lopez took pre-orders for hyped sneaker releases and levied relationships with different store managers to nab shoes and sell them for about $60 over retail price on average. I didn't know my left from my right, but I just knew that if I undercut everybody sooner or later, people will kind of hop on the train, Lopez said. 6 months into the business venture, Lopez and Barragan split up. Lopez moved into a motel and started selling his own clothes to stay afloat while trying to find another job. As a last-ditch effort, while sleeping on his friend's couch, Lopez persuaded some of his former buyers to consign their shoes that they no longer wore for Lopez to sell at a trade show. He did so in the summer of 2014. I switched it from being the guy that goes out and buys everything to being the guy that you consign with, Lopez said. At this trade show in summer 2014, Lopez sold around 400 pairs of shoes. He also met a Boulevard Mall representative who persuaded him to open a store. The representative gave him the store, which Lopez said was located in a hallway that had been closed for 5 years, with the promise of a few months rent free. The store opened in September 2014 and the business took off. The day that I signed the lease, I had $40 to my name, Lopez said. By December 31st, I did $1 million in sales. Lopez and his wife eventually got back together and co-ran the business. They would even pick up guests and consigners in their own car from the strip to take them to their store. We never really focused on the problems, Lopez said. We only focused on the solutions. Year after year, Urban Necessities made more in sales, from $4 million in 2015 to close to $21 million in 2019, Lopez said. Lopez and his now wife are currently co-owners of Urban Necessities, which Lopez says he hopes to build into a $500 million business. In addition to sneakers, Urban Necessities sells other merchandise, including streetwear and accessories, through 2 physical locations and an online store. It had to be an experience, and I couldn't just pin myself to sneakers, Lopez said of the company. It's just been evolving all the time. This is something, man. I'm not a big sneakerhead like this, so I don't even understand the desire to spend money like that on some sneakers. But $21 million in sales, you really can't scoff at that. There's got to be something, there's got to be something going on with the market if people are willing to spend money like this on sneakers. This is crazy. And then reselling sneakers, keep that in mind that for whatever reason, people, they're moving sneakers like commodities, man, like stock on the stock market. I'm not a big fan of any of those sneakers either. I wouldn't wear any of those, but I guess somebody sees some value in it. But for me, I would want to get in and get out, but he's seeing growth, or he's predicting that's going to be some kind of growth in it. I just think that it's a very fragile market because people are very fickle, and if whatever the next hottest thing that's trending comes out, they move on to that. And I would never want to get caught in something like that. But, I tip my hat to this dude. Yeah, I don't know if it differs from inside trading. I think he's just a reseller. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think there's any laws stipulating that he can't do that. I mean, he'd be no different than eBay. We got a G's on the pin on Renaissance, man. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? Was somebody else gonna speak?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. Yeah, that is it's a crazy. It really is a crazy market. I'm a bit of a sneakerhead, a little bit too much. I kind of overindulge in it, but it's all good. But yeah, I mean, it's to the point where you got little kids now. I mean, sixth graders walking. If you go to some of these sneaker conventions, you got sixth graders walking around with wads of cash in their pocket, buying and selling, just trading all up and down the floor. It's not even, it's not even when someone says a young man's game, like somebody like that guy. I know that guy. His name is Jay something, Jay Lopez, but he he's considered an older cat in that, and I feel like it's just it's a pretty serious game. It's pretty serious, but it is kind of like kind of like a stock market because these shoes, what especially as a popular shoe because of what Nike and Adidas were doing by releasing so many or having limited releases. I mean, it kind of drove up the price and just made prices of shoes just real crazy. But yeah.
So let me ask you, do you wear the sneaker and then when you're tired of wearing it, you just kind of put it back in the box and that's it?
Well, I kind of got into it because it's funny. It sounds stupid, but I really don't wear them. And I'm not just. I kind of just. It's weird. It's because I always liked it as a kid. I'll buy them. I'll see them. Maybe I wear some of them, but I have a lot of sneakers. A lot of sneakers. But half of the time, you see me in flip flops. I mean, hell, I'm African. I love wearing flip flops. But you see a sneaker, and especially knowing that it's rare in your size, I'll buy it, and in my mind, I tell myself, man, like one day I'm gonna hit these suckers up on, I'm a floss on these motherfuckers. But it's like, I'm just so busy, I'll never get the time. But most people, they like if they do it, they'll buy like two copies, two or three pairs, and one of them, wants to cop what they say, and wants to stock. So they'll just stock it away, wait for the price to go up, or wait for it to be a little drought. Then they'll put it, they'll put it on StockX, or they'll put it on eBay or something, or and they'll sell it. There was one story out in New York where this Haitian guy ran over. Remember when that Haitian guy ran over that kid and his arm got severed because the kid tried to rob him because he was selling Jordans.
Yeah.
It's like it's that serious because people now you can when people do resale, they want to do it under safer conditions. Then you might meet them out in public or in a space where everybody's around. It's a very serious business. So
I didn't realize that, man. I would just thought that people just rock their kicks to they were beat up or something.
I mean, some people do that. I mean, I do that to a certain extent, but I mean, a lot of times, that when Nike releases it, it's gonna be limited, and people. I mean, it's gotten to the point where people from China will come over to some of these sneaker conventions. So I think people just know it's a great after sale market. Now the problem is Nike and Adidas are trying to get in on it, but because they are the supplier, like if they flood the market, then they I guess water down the price, but they don't benefit at all. But somehow they're trying to figure out how they can benefit off the resale game because I guess they don't like the fact that people are making lots of money off of it.
Yeah, man, I didn't realize that, man. I mean, there's so many different ways you can move about it, man, with cryptocurrencies and blockchain and you know,
Yeah.
QR codes and stuff like that for authenticity and whatnot, man, and ownership, and you know, fractional ownership, tokenization of it. There's a whole lot of things you can do with that, man. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, it is.
I just can't see myself spending that kind of buku bucks on sneakers, man. I don't wear sneakers that often because I work corporate, so I don't wear sneakers that often.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I don't pay that much for mine. I tend to buy mine secondhand, like barely used or something. I don't think I've ever paid over $300 for a sneaker.
So what it sounds like to me is like you guys are wearing them to an event, or they show them off on Instagram and then they put them back up for sale, just to say that they had it first.
I mean, some of them don't even wear it; they just post it on Instagram. If you wear it, you wear it. I mean, it's. I mean, with like you said, I mean, for us that are professionals, like there are not a lot of places we can go with sneakers. I mean, I'm a nurse; I wear sneakers to work, but it's the same pair. I mean, it's nothing. I'm not gonna wear a pair of J's, on the floor, get all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah, Super Triz wears J's to work, so.
Oh, he does.
Super Triz is a little bit out there, man. So.
Hey, man, more power to him. I wish I could do that, but nah, it's it's funny though. Bobito, I don't know if he used to be one of the early heads in hip hop. I met him one time in New York, and because he always talks about the sneaker. He's a real big part of the sneaker culture. Mm-hmm. But I met him and I was like, "Yo, Bobito, what's up, man?" Like, and I told him the number of sneakers I had, and he made it seem like he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not really into it like that. I just I just talk about them. I'm not." I felt like such a dick, man. I was like, "Damn, why did everybody say that?" Like, so when I met him in person, he was just like, "Yeah, I don't collect sneakers like that." So yeah, I don't even say how many I own because you just come off as a pompous ass when you say it, but it is what it is.
So how many do you own right now?
So, bro, I don't even want to. I'm embarrassed to say it. Really.
Oh, you're embarrassed? Come on.
Yeah, dude.
How'd you get like that, man? Is it addiction or something?
You know what? It really is. It really is. I don't know. It's the art of the deal for me. I like being able to say I got a good deal on something. And my shoe size is rare, so I got it's very hard to find size 14s. So if I see I'll give you an example like Bo Jacksons. If I see a pair of Bo Jacksons from the 90s and mid 90s, I'll get them. But I'm not paying I'll probably get them for maybe 60 or 70. I've never paid, but it's almost like just the idea of getting something rare. I don't think I don't have a shopping addiction because if I would wear that stuff, but I don't even wear them. So, very, very rarely do I, wear my collection. But bro, I'll be honest with you, between Dallas and New York City, because I have a storage out in New York City. Bro, I think I have over, man, if it's at 1,000, dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
$1,000 invested?
I've been collecting since 2000. I think the first pair I bought were off of eBay in 2004.
Oh, wait, you have $1,000 invested into sneakers?
I think he means 1,000 pair.
No way. It's impossible. You ain't got 2 feet, man.
He fell off.
You only got 2 feet. How can you have 1,000 pair?
I mean, no, I was going to add, I got a good friend. I'm not into sneakers like that, but one of my good friends is, and $1,000 in sneakers. I mean, I was blown away when he told me a pair of Yeezys cost basically $1,000. So he's got to be talking pairs.
That's absurd. There's no way. There's no space for it though. That's like a whole store, right? You would need store space for that.
He said he had a
storage.
A storage. I took that as pairs. I could be wrong, but I mean, $1,000 in sneakers is not much in this culture because like I said, my friend collects. He probably has about 30 or 40 pair of Jordans, and I mean, I know when they come out, 250, 300 a pop. So.
Well, I can't really knock him, man. There's a lot of chicks out here who got lace front wigs, man, all sitting all around their walls and stuff like that. So.
Dude, a pair of Yeezys. Now the prices drop, but and they're ugly as shit. But when they first came out, yeah, they were the resale value was like anywhere from 800 to 1,000. So yeah, I mean,
those older pairs, can you fit those from 2004? Your feet have
yeah,
then, right?
Or
you ball your toes up and try to squeeze them in there.
Nah. I mean, I was a younger. What was I, like 17 or something or whatever? So I mean, I've always had a big feet, but I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe if I have kids, I'll be like, hey,
send them to Africa.
Man, I thought about that, but bro, then that shit's gonna hurt. Seeing a pair of J's on a dusty road and shit. Motherfuckers wearing, dude. You know what's funny? They'll wear it to church. They'll wear those type of shoes to church just because it's such a, shoes like, not a lot of people have them like that. So yeah, they'll wear that shit.
Maybe too big for them. You're standing out there with, two big shoes in a Kalashnikov.
but you were saying you had 1,000 pair, not 1,000 pairs, not $1,000 invested, right?
Dude, I've spent more than 1,000. Like, yeah, I think I have, bro. When I finished nursing school and I moved back, when I was counting, I was already at 3-something, 4-something, and that was just from when I moved back. So I already had shoes at my parents' house before. Then I have shoes in New York. Like it's probably. I mean, I'm not bragging about it. I'm not happy. I'm not proud of it. It is what it is.
Pay for nursing school with all those sneakers, though, right?
But that's the thing. Like, I can. I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't like just because someone gets in a bind, they just break themselves. I've always been proud to say I've never done that. I mean, even when I had my situation, I was homeless. Like, I still kept my sneakers. Like, I just put it in a storage and just called it a fucking day. Like, I'm not gonna. I mean, if I want to sell them, like, I guess I can, but I'm just too busy. I got to see what I got, do an inventory, and just maybe if I sell them, I sell them. Sometimes I give it to my brother,
Mm-hmm.
But my brother actually, he's a reseller, so he sells. But I kind of get pissed when I give him if I buy a rare pair, and I give it to him. Next thing you know, I look at eBay. I was like, man, those sneakers look familiar. And I look on the seller's name. It's my fucking brother selling my shoes. I gave him.
Wow. Did he give you a cut?
Hell no, he don't give me a cut. In his mind, he's like, yo, you gave them to me. Why can't I do whatever I want with them? I'm like, bro, you don't do shit like that.
I didn't know the market was like this, man. $21 million in a couple of years. Man, that is crazy.
It is crazy. It's really crazy. And you say you're tall, right? So someone like you. So if you have, what size shoe you wear?
11 and a half.
11 and a half. Well, yeah, that kind of. But anytime you start getting over 13, those get it gets really expensive. So the resale market, because it's. I mean, usually if you have tall people, I mean anybody over a size 14, they don't make a lot of 14. So naturally, right there is scarcity right there. So
yeah,
you see one pair, you better get on it for.
Yeah, maybe if you knew like Manute Bow's son or Matumbo's sons or something like that, you can probably sell them to him.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. Let's go to Renaissance, man. You got anything you want to add to this, man?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Mike. You said you don't wear shoes, like you work in tech. You don't wear sneakers in tech?
Nah, not necessarily. I'm on the C-level side, C-suite side, so I don't really.
Oh, okay. So you got to be a little bit more dressed up.
I'm a little bit more prepped. So
Birkenstocks.
What's that?
Birkenstocks.
Brook Brothers or something. But yeah, but I don't. To me, it would just seem really off if I wore sneakers. Like even if like today, Friday's casual dress down, I came in with jeans today. People blown away. Oh my God, get this nigga out the office. So.
But yeah, no, I was gonna say sneaker market. It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of people, and the shoe companies know too. Like they on purpose only release a certain amount of shoes because, like he was saying, they know the market will fall out if they release too many. So
yeah.
Oh,
they create scarcity on purpose.
But growing up, y'all didn't like sneakers. Everybody liked sneakers
Yeah,
growing
but
up.
we didn't back then, man. In the '90s, man, the thing you know, most common thing everybody got was some black and white Air Force Ones, and you might have gotten some top 10 Adidas. You might have got some shell toes. Everybody, you know, it's always like 3 or 4 sneakers that people kept in rotation for back to school. You know, maybe you might have got some Hirachis or some Ken Griffey Juniors.
The Iversons.
The Iversons. Yep.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and one of the reasons why I kind of went so hard in it at some point in my mid-20s is because, like, I used to DJ, right? And I was in that environment, but I was getting pushback from my own people, whereas I would see white kids just immersed in like the hip hop culture, and I don't know. To me, it became I'm like, you ain't gonna out black me. You're like, fuck this. Like, it almost got psychological like that, where, you know, because because they had easy access to the stuff. I mean, the parents could buy them equipment. They can buy the sneakers, buy the shoes. Like, they wanted to go. I mean, they were always going to concerts and shit, so they can be in that type of environment. Whereas with me, it was like, you know, when you're bootstrapping it on your own, it's like, it's a little harder, but, you know, I went hard in the paint because I felt like, you know, why should they have all the fun? You know, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that now, but I mean, when you see it, I mean, sneakers was, I mean, it was black people that started that shit, that made it popular. You know, Nike would be nowhere without black men, or even Michael Jordan. Nike would be nowhere without Michael Jordan.
They'd be nowhere without hip hop.
Exactly.
Exactly. Adidas, and because Run DMC wore Adidas, and you know, a lot of the other later comers wore Nike, right? They wore the Nike and stuff like that. So
it I kind of get like, so now when you see these things, when you go to these spaces, it's not black males anymore.
Right.
It's everybody else, and it's like, I understand. It's like, it's kind of, we've been priced out of it, out of our own shit, and we've been gentrified out of it. And it's sad and stuff, but I don't know. I was like, man, I'm a represent for the culture, because it's like, I just, man, it was. I didn't think it was right. I thought it was wrong. I'm not. I mean, it's not like I broke myself doing it, but I just, you know, I don't know. I mean, and you got a lot of people that are. I mean, I know doctors, I know MDs that are sneakerheads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's, you know, I'm not ashamed to say, you know, it's. I mean, if I was like all, you know, fucked up trying to, you know, do it, but, you know, but then again, I go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't think the doctors, you know, performing surgery with some Jordans on. I don't think that's the case. No.
Actually, why not? Yeah, they probably are. You know, because you have what they call booties, which are smart, whatever, shoe covers. They call them booties, but they have shoe covers. I mean, you can walk. They can easily come out of the surgery theater with some J's on. It's nothing. I mean, you wear scrubs.
The only medical professional I know that wears Jordans is Super Triz and you know, Dr. Phoenix. I don't know anybody else who wears J's.
Honestly, you know what? I stopped wearing Jordans a long time ago. Like, I think the last time I actually wore Jordans to work was probably when I was in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know, even when I wore the Jordans to work, I would wear like the newest Jordans that was out. So it wouldn't be like the retros. It would be like the newest Jordans with the newest technology, because all those retro Jordans, they're uncomfortable. They have old technology. They're not very comfortable. Like the newer Jordans that have Zoom Air technology, and like they even have some Jordans that are not really mainline Jordans. Like they have the Jordan, I forgot what they're called, but they have the 720 like Max Air.
Yep.
Those are very comfortable too.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I just stopped wearing them is because it's like, it's too cliche almost. Like a black guy with Jordans. I mean, that's just cliche. So now it's like,
man, come on.
Yeah, like real talk. And then on top of that, it's like when you really look at the construction of Jordans, like they're really made in China. So like, okay, so I wear. I mean, I have Jordans now I mean, I have a lot of different shoes, but I only wear like those type of shoes to the gym. That's it. So I come to the gym fresh as hell. Like I buy a pair of shoes just to wear to the gym. But like when I go to work, I'm wearing like well, okay, so I used to wear like maybe like Gucci and Bally's and stuff like that to work. But now that I'm working ICU now, so I'm on my feet a lot more.
What do you wear? You wear like tennis shoes?
Yeah, so yeah, now we're like regular tennis, but like I purposely try to be understated. So I wear a lot of Diodoras.
Oh, you wear Diodoras.
I wear
and
Diodoras.
see, that's, yeah, those are rare.
Understated.
But see, okay, this is what I'm talking about though, right? When you said a black guy, stereotypical black guy in J's, dude, you're a nurse, man. Everybody knows that you worked your way, and I'm not necessarily you in general, but this is why I kind of didn't want to let it go, because like I said, that doctor, I've seen him with those with all kinds of shoes on, and like these people get accolades for black culture, and I'm just like, yo, man, this is like fucked up. Like I gotta feel ashamed of hip hop, black culture, but he can easily do it, and it's kudos to him. He's considered like fresh to death, cool. Like, man, I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, black men, we wrote the script and all this shit, how to dress, how to look fly, how to do this. Now everybody's just copying out of us. That's how I feel.
I think Jordans is getting played out. Like the retro Jordans is played out. Like how many times are you gonna rehash the old retro Jordans? If they flooded.
Now they got to put more color to it.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do. They do. Well, no, but the rehab, it's the originals. Anytime they make the like from the original, and it's only like Jordan up to the 15s. Like anything after the 15s are trash. Like nobody buys that shit. And then half of that stuff is Team Jordan. But like a fresh pair of ones, the 3s, the 4s, the 7s. Come on, man. Like, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, fresh pair of jeans on, like a nice shirt.
Nah, see, I don't even wear Jordan. See, like, okay, so when I put on like my because like tomorrow I'm going out tomorrow, right?
Okay.
Like, and I'm wearing tennis shoes. I'm wearing Roberto Cavalli. I don't wear Jordans when I go out. Period. Listen, I wear Roberto Cavalli, like Gucci. I stopped wearing Gucci because of that whole Gucci fiasco. But like,
because of Gucci.
Like it's from Italy, straight up and down. And like because I'm buying quality, I don't gotta buy a whole lot of it.
You talking about foreign?
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna add too, Mike. Even with Jordans, the new ones, like they're talking about the retros, they're not even as good a quality as the originals. Not to mention, it only costs like I want to say like $5-10 to make them.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if they're using humans anymore to make them. I think that they got to be like coboted, right?
No, they still get little 3-year-olds to make them.
And you know what the thing is? Like a lot of these, you got so many, especially in Houston. You go to Houston, you got people selling quote unquote counterfeit Jordans left and right. And the thing about it is that the counterfeit Jordans, a lot of times they're made at the same factory as the regular Jordans.
Yeah, they're not stamped with the serial number. But the funny thing is, I don't have to worry about that because I wear 14s, and it's very hard to see counterfeits in large sizes. Usually they stop at 13s. So I usually don't worry about that, but you're right. They come from the same factory. It's all it is some dude snuck it out of the factory. So it didn't get stamped with the serial number.
So instead of Jordan with his legs open dunking the ball, what does he like, I don't get, he cross his legs or something?
No, some of them have it where Jordan has a bigger, like, you can see his ass on it. It's like it'd be like 2 butt cheeks and shit. It'd be like, okay, these are fugazi right here. Like,
you're a nutcase, man.
No, seriously, look it up. Like, they got some Jordans. If you look at the Jumpman symbol, you can see Jordan's butt cheeks, and it's like,
man, you're a mess, man. Let me go on to cocaine kills, man, because somebody can actually bring some balance to the discussion. Cocaine to you.
What's up, Phil?
What's going on, Ty City, man? We can get to you next. See if Cocaine wants to say anything.
No, Ty City can go ahead.
What it do, Ty City?
Hey,
bro, you got a warehouse full of sneakers in the back of that.
What's that song by Boosie? A fresh pair of J's. I hit the ground.
You know what? I got a closet full of sneakers, bro, but I do not have. I got one pair of Jordans.
Wait. Are you anti-Jordan because of what Chameleon said?
No. I have Bo Jacksons. I have
Okay,
Michael
that's what's up.
Vick. I have Kobe's. I have, you know what I'm saying? I got all the old retro stuff.
And do you wear them or do you just like kind of
Yo, I don't wear them.
So you're trading them then? You're gonna trade them just like this cat is?
No, I'm not.
What's wrong with you?
They keep going up in value, bro. I got a pair of De La Souls that I wanted to wear one time, and it always happens. I look them up online, and then I change my mind about wearing them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Every
So how many pairs of sneakers do you have? Oh my God! Here he goes, man.
And trust me, Mike. You know, you think people do notice you when you got some nice fresh pair of kicks on. People do see it. I mean, they look down. They be like, oh shit! Like people do see you with some nice fresh. So, you know, there's a reason why.
Yeah, when Super Trish used to ride his CBRs and whatnot, man, he used to put the sock over the shoe so it wouldn't get any grease on it.
Well, it's like the little stuff from the actual shift pedal on a motorcycle. It really messes up your shoes, but because it has like a little rubber thing on it for grip, and it just really messes up your shoes. But I tell you what, like as far as that not wearing shoes, like listen, let me tell you something. If I get a pair of Air Max today, I'm wearing them to the gym tomorrow, and I'm doing squats in them.
See that's cool, bro. As long as you don't have like something out of a gray pack or a wolf gray pack or a medicine ball pack, or as long as you don't have nothing like that going on, that's cool. Off the shelf Air Maxes, you straight.
No, not Air Max, Air Mag.
Oh,
Air
you mean
Mag.
like is that like the one that costs like 10,000?
You're crazy.
Yeah,
Triz,
I'm doing squats in them at the gym tomorrow.
Triz, you crazy. If I saw you, I would rob you. I would rob you. I hit you over the head and take them myself. Like,
and that's the equivalent of having a classic car and just driving it off road.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's Super Trish is you know, he's pretty out there, man. Sometimes, but
yo, you cannot be on a motorcycle with some wax shoes on, bro. No. Do not think you cool, bro. No.
when he said Air Mag, I thought he was talking like an AR magazine or something like that. I wasn't sure.
No, I'm talking about them. I'm talking about the Back to the Future. Like honestly,
The
like,
Marty McFly ones.
Are you talking about the ones that lace themselves up?
Yep.
Yes.
Marty McFly ones.
The Marty McFlies. Because like right now, if you try to get a pair of those, like I'm talking about like legitimate, not some stuff that somebody done rigged up, like some legitimate Air Mags and mint condition, they probably gonna cost you like 50 bands. And if I got a hold of them, I'm wearing them to the gym. I'm doing squats, calisthenics. I'm doing the spin class in them. I might even swim in them.
Dude, I got a pair of pigeon dunks, staple pigeon dunks, and I just hold on to them. And I hold on to them, and I'm gonna eventually have to sell them because there's no way to stop them from deteriorating.
No, I think you can seal them though, right? You can put them into a container and seal them.
I mean, that slows down the process.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, this is crazy. You know, I didn't know the market was like this, man. This cat is SYSBM, judging by his picture. We'll move on to the
To be honest, I'm kind of scared because when I open up my storage in New York, I haven't been there since 2015. I don't know what them joints look like. I mean,
I got mice living in there, right?
I'm dead serious. I probably have some mice nests up in my kicks, and I'm bracing myself. I mean, I'm gonna be there in a couple months, but I'm probably gonna cry when I see what happened to my shoes. Like,
wow.
Hey, I was the same way when I had my shoes when I was out here on the road, man. I had nothing but I think I had like 67 different pairs, man. So what I did was I put sheets all over the shoe boxes to try to prevent this shit.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be a problem for you. I mean, you got trailers, man, that you move around. You go put your shoes up in there.
Man, now that I done moved into the house, dog. Now that I done moved into my house, man, my closet's not even big enough that I gotta put the rest of my shoes in the guest bedroom now, man. That's how much. That's how much I have.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about going to Home Depot and buying one of those like sheds, those outside sheds, and doing installation for them because I gotta have. I don't know where I'm gonna store my sneakers. Like it's
Get a shipping container.
a what?
Shipping container.
Dude, like
As soon as you do that, hey, as soon as you do that, I'm going to PetSmart. I'm buying 13 pounds of termites, and I'm dropping them off.
Pet termites. Hey, you know what? I got a pair of the first Kobe's that came out.
Yeah.
You know, the space boots, and they
Oh, I
starting
know
to
you
turn.
talking about.
They starting to turn yellow. And Audi designed those shoes. Audi designed those shoes. It was a
Wow.
partnership with
Mm.
oh
Audi.
yeah, those were the shoes that he wore when he left Adidas because of that. The ones that the
Mhm.
two, the first, the first one or the second one. The
No,
second
no,
one he
no, not
left.
the Crazy Eights. Not the Crazy Eights. The
No,
first
no,
one.
not the Crazy Eights. The Crazy Eights came out first, and then those boat shoes. There was one that it
They
was
came out. They came in white, yellow,
yeah,
and silver.
yeah. But remember the ones that looked like they were just straight ugly. They looked like a spaceship. Like it
Oh,
was
hey,
just
dude,
one
I
big
rock
curve.
with them, bro. It's
Bro,
funny. It's funny
those
because
are
all
so
the new
ugly.
shoes look like them now.
Yeah, everybody's wearing them dad shoes and stuff. Yeah, it's I
Yeah.
mean it's serious. Like what's his name? Triz was talking about Cavalli. I mean, I've never bought them new, but I even got into the Gucci. I have a couple pairs of Balenciagas. And you know what's funny? I've only bought these shoes because I heard rappers talking about them. That's when
I bought a
Kanye
pair.
started,
Yeah, walking stereotype.
Man,
no, seriously. When Kanye was started talking about Balenciaga, then I checked them out and I was like, oh shit, these are kind of nice.
Yeah, they're comfortable too.
Yeah.
Man, I bought some Versace's and
crystal ball
man, I sold them.
Balenciagas.
Versace.
Man, Giuseppe Zanotti's, man, that's my shit.
I don't like Giuseppe's. I don't like Giuseppe because it's like a lot the Giuseppe. I don't like the way the sole is. You know what? But Giuseppe's not that bad compared to even the Balenciagas and the new Pradas with the thick sole. But even the Giuseppe sole is too thick. Like I like a thinner sole.
I love them thick soles. So.
I can't find Prada in size 14. The only highest I found was 13.
None of y'all own the Gucci flip flops, do you?
Nah, too many
I had
people
them when
got
they first came out.
Gucci done, man. They done saturated Gucci so bad, man.
No, I just couldn't believe cats were playing what, like $300, $500 for some flip flops.
No, some of them be getting knockoffs, man. That's why I'm scared to wear Gucci belts now, man.
You gotta do like Joel Santana and buy the women's belt and wear it for yourself. Let's go to Cocaine Kells, man. She got a hand raised.
Hey, you see the screen?
No, what is that?
These are Louis Vuittons I have bought. And dude, I sold them, bro. They was just too narrow, dog.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Why you treat
Yeah, fat.
all your toes?
Fresh shit though, man.
Oh, the Louis Vuitton sneaker boots look off the chain, especially the brown ones. I love those, man. Especially
The ones with all the spikes.
not the spikes. Not
Those
the
ain't
spikes.
Louis Vuitton with the spikes. Those is Louboutin.
Oh,
That's Louboutin.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Louis Vuitton boots, not Christian Louis Vuittons. No, not those. Even though I got a couple pair of those, I paid like $1,100 for them. So
now, be careful, Ty City, because they got some Steve Madden with the spikes too. Don't get it confused with the Louboutin.
I'm not wearing.
man, all you gotta do is look at the bottom of the sole and see if they red bottoms.
well, let's go to cocaine.
No, I was just gonna say I used to be a sneakerhead as well when I was in school, but I quickly switched over because it's kind of, I don't know. it's not really sexy to continue to wear Jordans and whatever else I used to wear. But I would cut school to go get the shoes and then come back and have a totally different outfit to match.
I still see your 40-plus-year-old BWs, skinny jeans and colorful Nikes and stuff like that. So
Man, because they fresh.
Yeah,
They
but I'm
fresh
not
to
40 plus, Mike. I'm not even
no,
40.
I'm just saying adults. I'm saying, right, millennials, Gen X, or women in that stage, right, in their life. So
I don't know about that.
But no, basically, Kel, he's trying to tell you that you're growing a sexy status. You know, he want to see you in the Louboutin heels.
Oh no, I swear. Hey, the men that I was dating, they cleaned that up real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I turned in my tennis shoes or sneakers for heels. So
I think women's shoes cost way more than men's shoes, though.
Yes, it does, bro. Especially them stilettos.
What, Kels? So you mean to tell me that so you're not buying them Jordan heels from China? No
Oh.
Oh no.
We translate shit.
So
I've never done that, but
you're not spray painting the bottom of your shoes red. You don't think you can't spray paint? Spray paint the
yeah,
bottom?
you may be talking about the other BWs as far as that's concerned. I go to the store.
Cocaine. I was gonna ask, what's your impression of a guy who has more shoes, like a sneakerhead? If you meet a guy, he has more shoes than you.
I really don't judge him. It
Careful
just
now.
depends.
Careful now. Tread lightly.
No offense to anyone on the
Tread
panel.
lightly.
I'm being serious. No offense to anyone.
I know
I'm just
you're
curious.
being serious. I'm talking about the other one. But anyway, like I was saying, I don't really judge. I mean, I've in the past I've dated professional men who were sneakerheads, but the thing is that they worked out a lot and they taught like little league team and all of that. So they would like to, look fly while they're coaching. So I didn't have a problem with it at all.
What about
because you can transition, a professional man should be able to transition from being a sneakerhead to, putting on a different type of shoe. So
what about
I was just curious, like I said.
What about a sneakerhead that lives at his mama's house? And
I don't talk to those people.
There's a shitload of those.
back in the movie Lean on Me, what was it? What's the Puerto Rican dude's name? Kid Ray, who had the 3-piece suit with the top 10 Adidas.
I have a question. What about a sneakerhead that has his own place, but he still sleeps on an air mattress? But his shoes are all lined up against the wall, fresh as hell. What about that?
Yeah, I date real men. I date real high performing men. So there won't be an air mattress.
You might
want any air mattresses.
God damn.
I need a couple of those pairs of sneakers and get
Well, I'm out though.
Go ahead.
On the couch.
Dr. Phoenix, go ahead.
No, this is pretty funny because I actually, believe it or not, man, I haven't worn Jordans in years. The last pair of Jordans I brought was made about 4 or 5 years ago almost. And they were a pair of retro 4s, patent leather. I really like patent leather sneakers. So, but yeah, I brought those. But man, I brought those. Actually, I brought those.
Whoa, hold on. Did you just say you really like patent leather?
Yeah. Do
you be wearing like the little conductor caps too?
Hell no.
Hey, wait! Y'all in Houston? I used to go to the sneaker summit in Houston every year.
Oh yeah, I do too. But I don't
hold
get
on.
anything.
Dr. Phoenix was telling us about his patent leather fetish.
Yeah, the Concord. I like the Concord.
I do like patent leather.
And the Space Jams.
Yeah, I do like patent leather sneakers, but
patent
yeah, I
leather,
brought those.
conductor hats, and stirrup pants. Go ahead.
I'm not ashamed to be a sneakerhead though. Like,
funny, man.
I be flexing. I know a lot of people be like, "Oh, look at him. He got shoes on." It's like, okay,
Now,
well, leave me
now, you
alone,
know,
fam.
now when I was at, most of the shoes, I mean, I hardly ever wear sneakers nowadays, but I still have most of my pairs of sneakers. But nowadays I usually wear like Cole Haans or Tom Fords. But I'm actually just really proud of a pair of Timberlands I brought about a month ago. That were real nice.
Timberlands do not work in the South. I'll be honest with you. I tried.
And that's why I like.
Hey,
That's why I
hey,
like getting in the
Man,
West.
no, it's too hot. It's too hot for Timberlands in the
That's why
South.
I like getting.
Yeah,
That's why I like
they
getting
right
in the
now,
West,
shit.
dude.
No, but
I-
they're too. I mean, but see, the thing is, because I've lived in both places. Like, I tried to wear Timbs here. I mean, one, you might mess around and wreck your car because they're heavy as shit. So when you step on the gas, you don't even feel how much power. I'm serious. Like, no, seriously,
He
like
said wreck your car.
you will. You will.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He's talking about Timberland boots. Not them Caterpillar boots that you be buying from City.
This dude got jokes. This dude got jokes.
They gotta have the tree on the side of them.
It doesn't have a tree. It has like a cannabis leaf.
Well, man, I'm from Chicago, man. Even when I was in high school, man, that's pretty much all the cats had, man. This time of year,
Yeah, because it snows. It snows.
That's what it is.
Let me tell you something. One day, when I was living in New York, I was actually going to class, right? And I was wearing some ones. Mind you, it had frozen over. And I'm just like, you know what? Because I used to be like, man, I'm not going to get no Timbs. I'm not going to get no Timbs. I'm going to keep it authentic, right? Man, I stepped on this curb. And when I tell you my feet went out from under me, next thing I know, I look up, there's some Georges in the air, and my feet were attached to them. Dude, I landed on my ass like, oh man, I was
no.
I was like, yeah.
Well, I'll say this much, man. I do collect. I don't really collect sneakers like that. It's just that there are certain sneakers that do catch my eye that I do gotta buy, but that's not anymore. For the most part, I wear a lot of casual, semi-dressy shoes, and so most of the time now, if I'm buying shoes, it's usually some Cole Haans, some Tom Fords, or something like that. But
Yeah, that's what I'm
Any of y'all
too.
wear
The
Allen
Cole- the
Edmonds?
Cole Haans.
what about Aldo's? Anybody like Aldo?
No.
I used to wear Aldos when I was younger. But they were
Who
pretty.
said no?
They were pretty decent. Back
I
Who said
said
no?
no.
What's wrong with Aldo?
What are those?
What's wrong with Aldo's? Aldo's are pretty nice.
Go
man.
ahead and break it down,
They're
Cocaine.
cheaply. No, I'm not. I'm just. I would. It's just not my. Not my cup of tea. It's not.
Well, I got a
I've
real.
seen
I'm
the
sorry, let
sole.
me-
I've actually seen the sole come off of one of those shoes. Somebody was walking, and
Talk to him,
So-
I have a really nice pair of Calvin Klein loafers I brought years ago that are red. I got to go get those boys. I had to get them waxed and shined and then cleaned professionally. So because I don't have the time to do it myself. So
I was just gonna
My
say.
grown-up shoes
I'm
is
sorry,
Cole
Dr.
Haans,
Ben.
man.
I'm still thinking about Jesus saying Aldo. I just can't get.
Yeah, that's
Hold
not.
on, wait,
That's not
what's
sexy. I'm sorry, that's not
Whoa,
sexy.
hold
That's
on.
City. That's
Wait,
City.
what's wrong with what's wrong with Aldo?
Talk to him.
First of all, I'm a sneakerhead, so it's not like what's wrong? No, hold on, time out. Wait. What's wrong with Aldo, man? Aldo got some nice. I got a pair of Okay, y'all gotta stop. What is this? What are the hyenas? Like, why y'all laughing so hard, dude?
I don't know what they. No, for real, I don't know what they are, bro.
They have Aldo stores in the mall, man. What you talking about,
Yeah,
bro?
don't search for them, Ty City. Don't search for it. Just leave it alone.
I just said the orthopedic shoes. Are they orthopedic shoes?
No, man, they're nice. Man, whatever, dude.
Oh my god.
You need them.
I'm so sorry, man.
in defense of it, Jesus, I think you're cool if you're younger and you wearing those. If you wearing those, if you're younger, late teens, early 20s, you wearing them.
I'm in my mid-30s. What's wrong with Aldo?
Oh my
man?
God.
Now, if you're in your 30s wearing all those,
Yo,
So
hey, y'all
Aldo,
laughing, bro? but this guy at my job got some fucking some steel toe Skechers, bro, and I clown his ass all the time, bro.
Oh,
Those look like orthopedic shoes.
I don't let him make it, bro. I didn't even know that they work shoes, bro.
Yo, that's what folks used to wear when I was on the floor, man. That's what they That's what all the
Dude.
old nurses wear, man. They all wear Skechers.
Dude,
wow.
I could not keep a
Why
straight
are the
face, bro.
soles so thick though? I don't understand.
you know what?
When I
see,
see him,
that's
I just bust
see,
out laughing, bro.
see,
I
see,
cannot
see,
keep
You
a
know what
straight
it
face.
is?
see,
See, when Skechers came out with them shoes,
see, that's the problem with black people always putting too much stock into shoes. What difference does it make?
Oh, no. I don't give a fuck if that's how you
No,
feel.
I'm
I'm still
joking.
clowning.
Dude, I don't see
I
that.
wish a
Dude,
nigga,
I
hey,
don't.
hey, I wish a nigga would tell me why I care about sneakers, why he wears some.
Dude, I don't think that, bro. Aldo with some maybe in your sizes, but Aldo makes some nice.
listen, E-Jesus,
Hey.
please, you're killing yourself right now.
Bro,
No,
Aldo's.
Well,
Man,
no, brother. They tend to make knockoffs of the higher end brands. That's what they tend to
Y'all act like I said some XJ900s or something. Like,
Aldo and Steve Madden, all them, they in the same boat. Aldo and Steve Madden.
No, my grown up shoe is the Cole Haan.
Does
I
anyone
feel
wear
like-
does anyone wear
Have you
Allen
ever went
Edmonds?
to an Aldo store?
yeah, that's where I got them from.
Are we
Huh?
still on that? Or
I was about to say, I've been in one.
I think that's one of those stores you don't even notice it till you like really paying attention.
No. That's one of those stores that you don't notice until you walking through the mall with a girl. You know, you walk through the mall with a girl, you walking real slow.
Oh
Yeah.
my
You start noticing stuff.
Yeah, all the girls go into Aldo and shit, man.
Yeah, and then you see the guys that's in Aldo.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. That's
Right.
Alphabet Club right there, man.
yeah, I mean, even when I was younger, I bypassed that store. Like, it's not. I don't. Mm-mm.
Now, guys,
They have
talk
poor
about
quality
that
shoes. I'm just
shoes.
gonna tell you.
Hey, now, Dr. Phoenix. Now, does
What's up, man?
Aldo makes patent leather shoes?
Hell no. not any that I would ever buy. Shit,
What about well, so what I use for dress up is Kohan, Kenneth Cole, and Aldo. Like, I mean, they look nice, but I barely dress up, so it is what it is.
I mean, back in the
No
day,
excuse.
cats used to think that dressing up was like a fresh pair of butterlay Timbs with some Dickies and the
I remember that.
He said,
they used to think, man,
A big button up.
yeah, little big button up lumberjack.
What
oh my God.
brother, I have never wore Dickies as part of my regular wardrobe.
with a fitted hat, a button up with a fitted hat.
Never, man.
A big hat.
You
That's
can
some
tell
California shit, man.
you can tell the dudes that are what kind of jobs they're going for when they come to a job interview with a button-up shirt, but they're flying the shirt out. They got some khaki pants, and they're still wearing their fitted hat. You'd be like, yeah, you're doing this for your parole officer.
Now, see, when I, back in the day, man, when I was a teenager, man, all the cats had like iceberg jeans with Timberlands, and everybody had the wheat colored Timbs and
Okay.
all that stuff. So.
Let me
Albert on the back of it with the Dragon Ball Z.
let me ask y'all a question, and if y'all laugh at me, I'm gonna shoot all of y'all. So I wear a lot of Zara. That cool, right?
Oh, you go to the European fitting store, man.
I love.
The first time I ever went to Zara, man, I was in Spain, and dude, I tried on a damn pair of jeans, and my thighs couldn't get through the damn upper part of the damn jeans. So.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why.
I wear the shirts. I love the way the shirts fit.
Oh, okay. I was about to say you must be slender built.
Yeah, if you're a regular build dude, you cannot fit Zara.
I was just about to say I can't.
No, because you always buy a size larger. So I always buy double XL in Zara, and they fit perfect.
ask you this,
Yeah, that's because Europeans are a lot smaller than Americans. So
Mhm.
If you work out,
are you
you got a
buying-
muscular, athletic build, it would be somewhat difficult for you to fit in.
Are you buying shoes out of Zara too, E-Jeezer?
Nah, there's no way I could.
No, listen, let me tell you something. Those shoes look like Aldo shoes. Same thing.
I got jokes. But it's really when I moved to New York that because I used to always like wearing like just hoodies and just I dress with comfort. But I remember one day this homeless kid was asking me about what I was wearing, saying like he was giving me like some fashion advice. I'm looking at him like, and then afterward he asked me for $2, and I'm looking at him like, what the? But everybody thought everybody used to think, man, are you homeless? I'm like, dude, I got a nice ass apartment. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's from
man. I always, even now, like I stay with I just wear streetwear. Like all these brands that's popping out, I've always been on. I just sold a whole shitload of Supreme and made a killing, bro. And
dude, you're into Supreme?
well, it's
Nah,
like,
that's some kid shit right
I
there.
was into it like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah,
It's like 10 deep, Stussy, Patta, different brands like that. I was into that stuff.
Bro, all that is a T-shirt with someone printing Supreme or V Lone or whatever. Like, how can you get into that stuff? Like, it's not even quality.
Because when Keith Huff nigga started Huff, all of these brands were cheap.
Yeah, but is Zara on the same scale for men that the Mad Rag is for BWs?
No.
Bro, Zara is pretty upscale.
It's
for my price range. Look.
I
Not
think
again.
brothers around our age should probably go holler at Brooks Brothers or something like that. You know?
Oh yeah,
man, nah.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, Zara looks
my
so much better. Zara looks so much better than Brooks Brothers.
Hell no, man.
or if you're a big dude.
Yeah, but keep in mind he wears like a size 14, so his selection is going to be limited too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I get compliments when I wear Zara, but
Wait. Didn't Zara have a big old sale for Pride Month?
What do you say?
Super Tris.
What?
They had a big old sale for what?
For Pride Month.
Pride
Man, I'm
Month.
about to Hey, Triz, did you got the email, Triz?
Half off.
Did you get the email, Triz?
Isn't this a live chat about economics? What y'all?
The economics of motherfuckers spending money on Aldo, I guess.
Well, I shop at Banana Republic too, so it is.
Yeah, that's a good store. I like Brooks Brothers better though.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest. I buy everything secondhand. I buy everything used. Like, you don't even know it though. So
I was just gonna say, like in Houston, there you wouldn't be able to tell like, who's a professional and who's not, because everybody is like a sneakerhead as far as the men are concerned. I mean, they do dress up when they need to dress up, but like it's kind of relaxed in Houston. And they are really, really big on shoes, tennis shoes or sneakers, whatever you all call them.
Yeah, I've heard that in general about Houston. Like I have people who live in Dallas and are from Houston, and they say that's the reputation of Houston. Houston's a lot more laid back.
Yeah, it's
a little bit more buttoned up.
Hey,
yeah, I call it the hood. Like Houston is the hood, and then Dallas is like the California of Texas,
Well, the problem with Houston is 150 degrees with 150% humidity. That's why everybody relaxed and laid back out there.
But everybody's happy in Houston. Like it's not. I don't know. I like Dallas, but I prefer Houston.
That's funny. That's funny.
Saying like you'll go to a lounge and like you'll be right next to, a doctor, surgeon, whatever, and you would not know it until maybe the end of the night or something. But yeah, everybody is just, normal, regular.
Now, Ty City, you own a pair of Toms, right? Oh, Ty
A
City.
pair of what?
A pair of Toms.
Wow, I bought my daughter a pair of those. He wears those?
What are tongs? What are those?
I mean, but Tom's, when you buy Tom's, you're making a statement because Tom's, like whatever their proceeds are, they devote like 50% of it, or they basically make a pair of shoes for like an impoverished country. So it's like a statement. Yeah, that's like the big thing with Tom's.
Is that a joke?
Ugly as hell.
No, that's serious.
No.
People still wear Toms. They were big when I was in college, but
What are Toms? What are those?
Not really.
that's what I was gonna say.
It's a very
Maybe
simple
kids.
shoe. It's a very simple shoe, but the company, what they do is every time you buy a pair of Toms, they take they make a pair and they sell it or they give it to like an impoverished child like South America or Africa or something like that.
Do they make Uncle Toms?
Boom, boom.
ABL's wearing them.
Hey, you know what?
Mike,
You
you
know-
ain't ish.
Well, here it's been pretty cold here where I'm at, man. I had to pull out my damn North Face boots because I got a pair like when it gets
This guy
like
has a North Face.
You have a what?
They make boots.
yeah,
Yeah, North Face make boots.
I didn't know that.
yeah. I got North Face boots, North Face coats, North Face vests, North Face sweaters.
Actually, you match it. If you match it, man, it kind of looks stylish, to be honest.
Yeah, I got North Face fleeces. I mean, I'm like all North Face the hell up.
I just hate that they jack them prices up, but I'm like,
The
damn.
thing about black people though, man, is they'll buy North Face just for the brand name. It'll be, 14 degrees outside, they out there in a North Face windbreaker. Like
Exactly.
Nah,
I don't know what black people you've been around. I have never seen
Man,
anybody.
they the reason why the prices got inflated like that. North Face didn't cost no $150 to $200.
Nah, I got a real deal North Face coat, man. I ain't buying no damn windbreaker. Nah.
What y'all know about that triple fat goose though?
What the hell? I ain't seen that shit since I was like in grade school, man.
Nah, man. He's talking about the first down or a South Pole or something like that.
Oh my god.
Kept wearing a Nietzsche back in the day.
A Nietzsche, yeah.
A Mecca. Echo Red.
Man, we can literally have a whole hangout on fashion and style, man.
A pair of
I
academics.
used to wear Mecca. Dang it.
Oh man, he said Mecca.
I used to wear Mecca.
None of y'all wore the
my
NASCAR
God.
jackets, did you?
Yeah,
I did.
I did in high school. I did.
Yep.
You know what? I ain't gonna even lie. I know they got on trends about this before, but I had a NASCAR jacket too, so I ain't gonna let my
And
man.
I
drop
wore
him
my
down
boy
some.
number 48, Jimmy Johnson.
Eminem, was it the Eminem one?
I didn't know the
No.
teams though.
No,
Ain't no
no.
way in hell I was wearing a NASCAR jacket.
Oh, I did. Number 48.
Cross
Jimmy
Shot
colors.
dead with a NASCAR jacket on.
Man, if you were like in the major cities, man, them shits were hot. The NASCAR jackets. back
Yeah, it
Yes,
was,
and they
man.
came in
I was in
leather.
Dallas. I couldn't get away from them.
Yeah, the starter jackets back in the day, Cash used to
Oh
wear.
my goodness.
I remember.
Or the bomber
Houston.
jackets.
The bomber jackets, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah,
I
the bomber
remember.
jackets.
I remember.
Who had the
Houston.
8-ball jacket? Who had the 8-ball jacket? I
The
know I
dude
was the
that-
only one.
Relax, relax.
Did you have to slap a girl on the train?
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the jersey. That's the jersey.
Did you have to slap a BW on the train when you were wearing your 8-ball jacket? That
No,
dude slapped a
but
dog shit.
I almost got shot for my 8-ball jacket. I remember that.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I had this baby Blue Jay starter jacket, man, when I was in grade school, man. I almost got straight up jacked for it. So
Dude, my mother would not buy me a Raiders starter jacket. I remember in Houston back in the day, this was when like NWA was I remember a kid getting shot. I remember you used to if you turn on the 10 o'clock news, it would show a body, but it'll show the dude with his
The
socks.
Raiders jacket.
Yeah, that means he got robbed for his J's. He got ganked for his J's and his jacket. Like don't get caught slipping with some at the bus stop with some J's and and a starter jacket on.
I
Like,
can go a little bit further back than you, man. They had the Malcolm X jackets. Everybody was rocking X jackets. You know, people used to make fun
Oh
of
man,
double
yeah,
X.
Nah,
I don't know nothing about that.
we
man.
couldn't do that. No.
A helicopter. Your mom's so big that when she wears an X jacket, a helicopter lands on the back of it.
Boom, boom. Lord have mercy.
Hey, to my man, engineering cannabis, man. Hey, man, if you wore a pair of Shacks, man, you got roasted. I'm just gonna keep
Bro, man.
They sell those at
I
Walmart.
learned the hard.
Oh
bro, I
my
learned the
goodness.
hard
Oh,
way.
them shacks.
They sold them in Walmart. Then it came to Payless.
brother.
I was like,
You got mad roasted.
I learned
Bruh.
the hard way. I told my
Every-
mom
every-
never again.
everybody remembers, because black kids, they had a knack for just noticing when you got some new shit on. So you walk to class, the whole class gets quiet. They look down at your shoes, make sure they're authentic. I remember my mother had bought some. They were.
What happened?
I don't know. I think
Mhm.
Well, when I was younger, I can say that like I thought everybody got new pairs of shoes every Friday. Because every Friday, literally, my father would take me to get new shoes, and it was ridiculous. But
He was just
I don't
good,
know.
man.
Every Friday?
Every
Nah,
Friday,
I kid you not. Down here in Atlanta, it seemed like it too. Every week they got a fresh shoe, either Air Force Max, Air Force Ones, freaking J's. I'm like, bro.
no, I'm talking about when I was in elementary school. He
No,
would
I'm
every
talking
Friday.
about middle school. I was talking about middle school. I'm like, they got all these shoes, but not nan kid can pass not a damn grade, man.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all what time I got roasted, man. My daddy bought me some some Jordan boxing shoes, bro. nigga, hey, hey, first day of school, bro, dog. I wanted to go home so bad, dog.
Them
He
Roy
was on
Jones,
my ass, dog.
them Roy
I'm
Jones
just coming in
Juniors,
here
'cause
with
you
Jordan
know
boxing
he
shoes.
I thought I was so different and cool, bro.
Well, no, because Roy Jones Jr. used to wear them same boxing shoes and shit, because he had a contract with them.
Yeah, but Ty
So-
wasn't Roy Jones Jr. though.
Hey, I wish I was Roy Jones the way them niggas was roasting me, bro.
I remember them boots. I was like, hey, Roy Jones Jr. Boy, them motherfuckers didn't matter, bro. You still got roasted on.
I thought I was the man, bro. I found out quick, bro.
Talk about ADEs, adverse childhood experiences, man.
Nah, it was a lot. It was traumatic for a lot of people, man. Black kids are the worst when it comes to like. They will let you know, bro. You violating. Like, come on some whack shit. They will let you know, dude.
I mean, I wore leather pants like in elementary school, and I mean, they gave
Guys
me
on
hell.
YouTube wearing leather pants and fur coats, man, in the house.
Oh, Lord.
Man,
They let you come to school with some shoes that wasn't in the East Bay. Go ahead.
my man.
Or God forbid you come in.
Ty City, you're from Dallas. They call it scoing out here. Like, man,
You get scolded on.
yeah,
heavily.
you scold on so bad,
Heavily.
man. It's like they will
Call in the
not
troops.
stop.
You going down fast.
Atlanta was the same way, man. Let them see some shoes that they haven't even heard before, man.
And you
You
knew
got
the shoes. You knew those Payless shoes was whack because when y'all go to PE and y'all be on the basketball court, you be sliding across the floor. You couldn't stop. Like, because they had no traction, so you could not
No
stop.
doubt, bro. And niggas was sneaker experts. Let them not recognize your shit, bro. You getting it?
I said that, bro.
Yo, a color they haven't seen. If you got something that nobody ever seen before, they on your ass.
Exactly,
Dude.
bro. Like I said, they won't pass
Same in New
grade
York.
in class, but they do their shoes, boy.
Hey, yo, Mike, is this Black Shoe Talk episode 1?
We gonna move on
You
right
might
now.
as well make bro. You can have a whole hangout on this.
Yeah, Mike done opened up a can of worms.
you have to change the title to this one.
Yeah,
Hey,
the
Mike,
whole manosphere about to come down here.
Mike, you might as well.
Nah, I
Mike,
should,
you going to make a
They're
whole
gonna
separate hangout,
descend.
bro.
They're gonna descend on this.
I should just remake.
Yeah, it was hard though, man. Come with some wax. But you know the funny thing is, like,
No,
you
no
gotta
more,
scratch it.
more funny things. No more funny things,
No,
please.
but I'm just saying, like, how could people's parents afford it? Because it's not like all.
UBI, that's what they got.
I'm talking about back then. Back then, parents could have, like, I mean, maybe it was, they probably had that just one pair, but these, I mean, they were still expensive for its time back then.
All right. Let me get to this assignment from CNN.com.
Well, not all parents.
Now, parents was buying them kids some expensive stuff. I mean, because I guess
Save your
they knew how
shoes,
it
black
was.
man.
No, I'm talking about you said they couldn't afford it.
All right.
Where I went to school, nah, I don't think their parents. I mean,
Hey,
now that I'm older, like,
hey,
it's
let him get to
probably.
that next. Let him read that article. Go ahead, Mike.
I need to get to the next article. We spent 45 minutes on this. This one is from CNN.com. Many millennials are worse off than their parents, a first in American history. Timely article for such a discussion. On paper, it looks like Scott Larson is doing better than his father was at the same age. At 29, Larson has a college degree and earns more money, but he doesn't feel he's moving up in the world. When his father, Craig, was 29, he was already married, owned a home in Payson, Utah, and had 2 of his 5 children. Now, 64, Craig Larson worked as a mechanical engineer, earning about $20,000 a year at the time, or about $50,500 in today's dollars, even though he hadn't finished college. His wife, Kathy, was a stay-at-home mom. Scott, the youngest of the kids, is a marketing manager for a health and beauty company based in nearby Provo, Utah. Though he earns around $60,000 annually, about 20% more than his dad did at his age, he is living with his parents because he doesn't feel he can afford to buy a place of his own thanks to soaring housing prices. While his dad was able to purchase a house for a little over twice his annual salary, Scott Larson says he'd have to spend more than 5 times his yearly paycheck. The prospect of taking care of a family or buying a normal, decent home seem like far-off dreams that I'll have to reconsider in another 5 years, said Scott Larson, noting that living at home is horrible for his social life, but is financially sound idea. Even though the U.S. economy is growing, according to a recent CNN poll, 76% of Americans think it's doing better than it has in decades. Not everyone is prospering. Millennials are on track to be the first generation not to exceed their parents in terms of job status or income, studies show. Democratic presidential candidates have seized on that reality, rolling out plans for erasing crippling student loan debt and guaranteeing healthcare designed in large part to appeal to a generation that feels it can't get ahead. Millennials, which the Pew Research Center classifies as generation born between 1981 and 1996, have faced challenges. They came of an age at the worst possible moment. When the economy collapsed in the Great Recession, said Michael Hout, a sociology professor at New York University, the U.S. Economy is not supporting a continuing increase in occupational status to the extent it once did. Compounding the problem is that millennials' parents did benefit from an upward shift in job status, making it even harder to surpass their accomplishments. Millennials, especially Black millennials, have lower home ownership rates than previous generations. Are you a millennial and unable to buy a home or an apartment? Tell us about it here. You can be featured in an upcoming CNN story. They should find a lot of Black millennials in the manosphere. Among Americans born in the late 1980s, only 44% were in jobs with higher socioeconomic status than their parents when both were age 30, while 49% had positions of lower status, according to Hout, who published a study on millennials in the 2019 Stanford Center on Poverty and Inequality Pathways magazine. That's a far cry from those born in the 1930s, some 70% of whom did better than their parents. The rate has drifted downward since, but millennials are the first to fall below 50%. Another study found that only half of those born in 1984 earned more than their parents at about age 30, compared to 92% of those born in 1940. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'll read this last paragraph. A big part of the American dream is that each generation will do better than the one that preceded it, said David Grusky, a sociology professor at Stanford and one of the authors of the second study, which was published in the journal Science in 2017. That has been part of what's supposed to make this country special and distinctive. When it's just a coin flip, we're not living up to that commitment. It's a pretty fundamental part of what we say this country can deliver and we're not. So I think it's pretty, this is a pretty long article. Sorry, I'm not going to read the whole thing because I think we get the gist. Millennials are not making it, and they probably won't make it for quite some time. If the market corrects itself at some point this year, it could be catastrophic for them.
Yeah, I think the problem is, I think there's a few problems here. I think fundamentally what's happening is that millennials that are going to college, they are wholesale for the most part, investing in degrees and majors that do not lead to high income earning jobs. I mean, the biggest wealth builder that a person is going to, the biggest wealth building tool a person will have in their life will be the income that they earn. The income is not your wealth, but it is a tool to build your wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having students that are being crippled with student loan debt, on top of the fact that they have low earning jobs, or in many cases, most students don't even have jobs in the field related to that which they got a degree in.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fundamental part, which in turn, I believe most college majors need to be outlawed, because most of them don't lead to any respectable, relatively decent earning job after graduation.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman that makes 60 grand as a marketing manager, you would think he'd be making more, but again, that's
the other thing is location. People aren't willing to move. Like, I see people who won't move to where the jobs are to go and get them, but some people just that's not in their game plan.
Yeah, I think
I just want to jump in next. I just want to hop in here real quick.
Go ahead, nigga. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me drop a little game here, because being I'm one who's raising millennials and got them right here. The situation is this. Bottom line, as a father, as a boomer, as a father who was raising kids who were your ages, 30, 31, 32, this kind of thing. It's about the age you guys, you're my kids. Not that you're my kids, but that's the age group you're in. You're in the gig economy. So therefore, you've got a lot of guys, a lot of kids who are coming out, like I said, who've got this massive school debt. They're in a gig economy. You're dealing in a situation now where a lot of these kids are going to be in jobs where they're not going to be in there for 10, 15, 20 years, where you can even get pensions, or you can even get, decent 401ks that can even help you even accrue some money on that. So that certainly is going to be a huge issue with respect to the economy that they're coming into. Some will do the right thing and get into some of the right fields, but the majority will not. The majority will not be in the tech field. The majority will not be in the medical field or healthcare. The majority are not going there, even though we would like to try to push them there. The majority are not. You're also looking at higher with the huge debts and stuff that our country has accumulated. There, and the banking system, where now you have to come up with certain percentages of money to come up to buy these homes. You don't have the zero interest loans and this kind of thing that was going on back when the market was really rocking and rolling. It's a lot harder for these kids to actually put money into their pockets if they're working to come up with, say, a down payment for a house. So literally, just the way the economy, the large amounts of inflation, gig economy, what we have are well-fed, well-educated. I heard someone call them serfs. serfs like in the feudal days of
feudal days.
of Russia. So that's what you basically have. They're not going to own anything. They don't have the opportunity to really own anything. What they can have is if you have parents, people like myself, others who have parents who can potentially help you to get property, or you may inherit some property from them. Most of these kids are not going to be able to buy anything. They're not going to have the income or the savings in which to really pull this thing off. And if you're in an apartment now or something else like that, that is running you $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month or whatever, you're going to have to pay a lot out for that, and you're not going to have any equity there. So you're not going to be able to save any money or get involved in buying any land from that perspective at that age. And it's tough. So everyone's going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. That's just, most people are not. Okay, so not everyone is. It's good to certainly train people to get into that level, but that's going to be difficult. So I think the millennial generation is one of these first generations that we've seen that are coming into a situation very much like this. These are well-fed, well-educated serfs that will be the workers who will not really own much besides what their parents can give them. That's a sad thing. People like Dr. Phoenix and others who are coming out, who will get medical degrees, some who will be smart about getting medical degrees and getting higher educations, where they will get scholarships, or they'll be in programs where they will have, programs where they have to serve an amount of time in the community, and then they'll, that'll be underwritten that way. So part of education will be underwritten that way as well. But that's difficult, and that's in the medical field. But in the tech field, you don't have. Well, we can go work in a technology in an underprivileged area. We're gonna, get our educations underwritten. No, you don't have that even in the tech game. That doesn't exist there. So what the millennials are facing today, and me as a parent, as I look at this, and say this is what we've done is criminal. It's actually criminal. And we're not operating on what I would consider a capitalistic system now. We are operating on a more neo-feudalist system. Neo-feudalism is what we have here. If you look at the old feudal societies where you had your princes and you had your dukes and your counts and your vassals, and that class, the moneyed class. And then you have a very large proletariat class that's just a working class that sits back and kind of tills the land, doesn't own it. And then you have underneath there, then you have that very poor class that our government looks out for and covers them, on a more of a subsistence level. But that deep middle, forget about it. These kids who are in that are just are a working class kid that's not going to own shit unless they get stuff from their folks, unless they get in power and change this bitch up, which I think they have to do.
Yeah, let's go to EG said they will go to Renaissance Man. Yeah, they both got their hands up.
I'm glad that Nagone said that, because that's one of the few, I believe, I don't know if he's a boomer generation or late boomer generation, that acknowledges it. It's not necessarily millennials' fault. Dude, my parents, they're boomers themselves, and they happen to, and at the time where, I think Yvette Cornell has said this, like when affirmative action, it was a lot of things that came into play, and met at an intersection to where a lot of Blacks were able to get something for themselves in the 80s and 90s and stuff, and they were able to do well. Having parents like my own is like, it's no matter how much, if you're not there, it's somehow your fault, or it's still, I don't know, it's very anxiety producing. To me, I can't even fathom right now thinking about getting a house, even though I know I eventually have to get one. But if I were to do that, financially, that would be just the biggest albatross around my neck. I couldn't do anything else, outside of that. And there are people that are nurses on my level that still, still purchase homes. But I'm just thinking the amount of money that I would have to, I guess, just procure to that particular investment. Is I don't know. I don't know. Thinking about it, kind of just like, But
Yeah.
I'll fall back.
Hey, let's go to Renaissance Man. Got his hand up.
Now, I was going to say too, kind of in relation to the article talking about housing. One article I read from the Wall Street Journal, it was talking about you going to have a bunch of boomers who are going to be who are becoming empty nesters, going to be looking to downsize, and because millennials don't have money, they're going to have all these houses that are either people don't want or they're in locations where the economy is not what it used to be. So you're going to have this glut of houses that people can't sell. So it's all going to come back full circle in some extent.
I think immigrants are going to fill that void.
Yeah, the Asians are buying up a lot of housing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a good bulk of the housing has been purchased by Arabians and Asians, for that matter. The Chinese.
You mean people who are moving here, or just people in other countries who just buy it as a second property to dump money in?
People just buying it as a second property to dump money in.
Okay, you're talking about like truly foreign buyers.
Yeah, so a lot of those, I mean, if you look at Detroit, when houses were going for about $1,000, man, back after the recession, a lot of those houses were purchased by foreign people. So,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here where I'm at where I'm at, they had they were selling houses for $1. I mean, that's how depressed the economy got in these Black neighborhoods. And in fact, one of the major property owners in my city is actually a Moroccan guy. Owns numerous multi-unit apartment buildings where he just rented out to a bunch of mostly low-income Black folks, and he just making a damn killing. got a damn mansion out in the suburbs some damn way.
Right.
So, I mean, this has been going on for years. And the ironic part is, I believe he used to be an engineer. So, go figure. So, I mean, this is kind of happening all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's go to Super Triz.
Well, this is a multi-layered issue. Part of the issue is that when we look at how millennials lived, or I won't say millennials, but some of the previous generations have lived, those who had who own homes and things of that nature, a lot has changed in culture. And so the standard of living is a lot different. Like, so there are things that you did without. Now everybody has to have a cell phone, everybody has to have internet access at home, cable TV at home. And so now you have all of these perpetual expenses that really add up. You start looking at your the outflow of cash on a monthly basis that prevents you from actually saving, because you feel as though if this is the bare minimum that you have to have. And then top that off, people want to travel. Millennials want to travel a lot too, and the generation Z's and Millennials, whatever you want to call them, all these other generations, now everybody wants to travel. And then now you have Facebook, Instagram, other social media outlets that are actually is a window into your life. And so now you feel compelled to display a certain lifestyle, which often includes traveling and things like that. So you're just kind of like flying by the seat of your pants, and any little thing that goes wrong in your life, you'll end up homeless, because they're living from paycheck to paycheck. They don't have money saved up. Like right now, I'm in Seattle, and some of you may know that it's a big strike going on. And so next week I won't even be working at all because of the strike. A lot of people don't have the choice to strike because they're barely getting by, because they haven't, they don't have any money saved. They made poor choices as far as their finances, as far as some of the things that they do in their life that actually, create monthly expenses, to include children, to include, car notes and things like that. So they can't strike. But at the same time, it's like the rising cost, the rising cost of living here in Seattle. People can't live in the city. Most of the people that I work with, they have to commute probably an hour just to get to work. Most people, some people more. There's a lady that I work with, She commutes from the Canadian border. She lives in Bellingham.
Wow.
She drives all the way to Seattle just to come to work. I knew a lady, she didn't last very long, but she lives in the Yakima. So that's like 3.5 hours away. And then if it's snowing, you can't get over the pass because the pass closes down. It snows in. So you have so many people with so many different factors. And so now you can't leverage into getting a higher salary because you can't strike. So now you're kind of like stuck. You can't, you have to accept whatever they give you. And so you're going to see this process even intensify as you move forward because people are not actually provisioning for things like that, provisioning to have the ability to leverage for what you want from your employer. And so now you have to accept what they give you. So year over year, the pay increases get smaller and smaller. And what are you going to do to your employer? Say, I'm not going to come to work, I'm going to strike? No, you got to go to work. So now you just go to work. So essentially, by permitting that behavior, you promote it. So it's like, it's really a downward trajectory for pretty much anybody who has to rely on a agency for work, whether it be like, a hospital, whatever, grocery store, retail, whatever. If you're relying on another entity for your subsistence, then you're at their mercy. Unless you have something that you can fall back on where you can say, you know what, this is what I demand. And to prove that I'm serious, I'm not going to produce until you give me what I want.
That's why I agree with the union movement. That's why I agree with so much with unions. We haven't had a wage, a serious wage increase, and really a net increase in real wages for the American worker since 1978, 79, really moving into 1980. All right. Now the economy has grown just about 3 times its size since then. Where'd all that money go? Okay, it's not going into your pockets. Where did it go? Where did it go? But yet the worker is working harder. In America, we're working more hours. We're getting paid less dollars. All right. And quite frankly, the millennial is coming in literally at the butt of the anus of this game. And on the business end of it and watching all the crap come out on the top of their heads. That's what's really going on. Economy's grown about 3 times its size since 1979. All right. And wages haven't increased. Where did all that money go? And our union movement has been destroyed in this country. All right. Because those that fought against the Rooseveltian era, those Republicans who came about that, have further kept working that plan, and they have come to full power today. And you have basically no money to go around. It's all being, consolidated at the top. This is where we're at. Forget about, this is a conspiracy. This is where we are at. And that's our big problem here. And quite frankly, our issue here is really more almost political than anything else. People talking about AI and everything else like that, it'll come and that'll affect, certainly. But certainly if you have a certain level of education, you're able to retrain, move people into other areas, that there's going to be a lot of work in healthcare. There's going to be a lot of work in IT, from everything from literally scrubbing floors all the way to the CEOs, to the CEO's level. You're going to have a lot of stuff going on in automotive and a lot of other areas. There's a lot of work still that's going to be out here, but people are going to have to be retrained. All right. But yet you've got the corporate game running everything, sucking up all the dough, and nobody's getting anything. No one's getting anything. And everybody's sitting here, saying, yeah, I'm happy. Man, this is a bad game. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at my own children. I'm looking at where my grand will be. I'm looking at this thing. This is a giant clusterfuck, and this thing's going to blow up at some point in time. Hope the millennials do get in power pretty soon and change some of this shit up, because you're going to have to put a crimp on the actual top dollars that the super wealthy can earn. You're going to have to crib them. There's going to have to be some cribbing going on there. I'm sorry to put it that, and I am very much a capitalist, but in order for this thing to work properly, man, you can't have people making 3,000-4,000 times with the least employer, with the smallest employer is making. It's gotten way out of hand, and I see the effects. Not only in school education with my own kids, I see the effects. I've seen these changes happen big over the last generation, over the last 20 years, which I have very active memory about. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, for someone in your age group, is your perspective unique? Because from what I see with people who are in your age group, they seem to think, like someone else is saying, that millennials, are just kind of not taking it seriously, this and that. They don't see really a problem with what's going on.
Well, you may see some people like that, but the average person who's a parent sees what the deal is. Some of us are upset at the millennials because some of these millennials, you know, we raised them a little bit soft, so they came out a little pusillanimous, crying and whimpering and shit. All right, okay, fine, that's just a change in the generation. But I don't care about whether they cry or whether they baby like. Fuck that. I'm looking at what are the opportunities that these guys have, you know, that we should have for them. You know, and how do we continue to move the society forward? I mean, that's what we're really talking about. You can't sit here and literally, I mean, commoditize education and make it this big, expensive commodity and leave large swaths of people uneducated. And then you've got these big job gaps where here I am in an industry, I'm in an industry where you got 1 million jobs sitting wide open. Not enough people qualified to even hit them. I mean, really? So, I mean, you have to look at what's, you know, I'm looking at what's really going on the ground. I'm a realist. I'm not sitting back here talking shit at the side of my neck. I'm looking at what's really going on. And there are a lot of problems here. A lot of boomers have their money. Okay, the boomers are the last my group, about the last group that was really able to come in, or some of the Xers were able to come in, you know, and you could get a house fairly easy. So it was fairly easy for me to get my first house. My first house when I was 24. All right, that's my first crib. Okay, I could walk in that bitch. All right, at the end of the day, you know, it was like, ain't no 24-year-olds walking up into many houses.
How much was it compared to your income at the time?
DC,
or how
we
much,
talk about with people not being able to.
How much did you have to put down, or whatever? What percentage of your income did it cost?
Ultimately, I had an FHA loan at that time. I had to put down, it was close to 20%. The house was a little under 200,000, so I had a little under 40 grand to do it.
So it was easy for you to put down the 20%.
It was a little easier than these kids have today. Yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Okay. Listen to me. Given that my first apartment that my ex-wife and I were living in was $355 a month, you can save some money on that. All right.
$355, and this was in New York.
$355 a month.
You can't even find a damn shoebox.
They got beat. They got beat. You understand? $355 a month.
No, I was saying super trends. The same thing happened here in DC too. When Trump shut down the government for a month, all sorts of people were basically out of luck. All government employees, because people were living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, I was one of those people at that time. So
no, I'm just saying. I'm just looking at realistically what's going on, and we're not in a. You know, I'm sorry. I know some people are not gonna like this. We're not in a capitalistic system. We're in a neo-feudalist system. This is a feudalist. We are in feudalism. That's where we are, and this shit's gonna have to come to an end. This is not capitalism. This is feudalism. All right, that's where we are. You guys, if y'all don't know what it is, study it. Read that. Read what feudalism is. Apply neo and new feudalism, neo-feudalism. That's what we're in. All right, study. All right.
Well, do any of y'all see this? Like, do any of y'all see this rebounding with like the next generation? What I mean by that is this, right? Like, my son is 6 years old. I'm a millennial, right? And I guess I'm on the later side of the millennial, meaning 35. I'll put it like this really quickly. If things went right in this country, right? If things went right in the way they should have, like millennials, we would have been the ones right now doing all the tech work and all that good stuff. But we're not, because I guess nobody saw how fast the technology and everything was going to accelerate. And now we're not prepared because we can't fulfill these jobs. So with that being said, I look at people like myself, like my son is 6 years old. I got him coding already. And I would like to believe that there's a lot of other people that are doing the same thing. You see where I'm getting at with it? So like the next generation of children, like my son who's 6, they're going to be the ones that are going to be doing what we were supposed to be doing right now. You follow what I'm saying? Does that make any sense, or you don't?
Yeah, it makes sense. Get them ready, because first of all, you're very smart, just like I'm doing with my grand. We're coming into a technical society, but they're not telling you. But they're not telling you guys out here. The media does such a horrific job in letting people know as to what's really going on. That's for a reason. There's a reason why they do it. I don't embrace it. I don't embrace why they do it, but I know why they do. They don't want you to know. You're moving into a technical society. That's the game we're moving into. You've got to move in this. But the problem that bothers me is they're knowing that people are going to be moving into a technical society, but they didn't do like back in the 60s when Yuri Gagarin and them were over there in Russia blasting off in outer space, and they're putting satellites out there and putting men on the moon. And in fact, flying black guys out there then as well. All right. Then also the United States looked up and said, oh shit, we're behind. And then they put all their money, everything they could, all right, that we had in education. All right, made education free, sent everybody all over the place, and they pushed tech and they pushed math, science, and STEM back then, heavy for us to catch up. All right, that's what we did.
Yeah, because communism was industrialized and way faster than capitalism was. And that's
it had industrialized damn near at twice the rate that we did. Okay, because they had to play catch up. When they played catch up, not only did they play catch up, but they were starting to run ahead of us. We sat there and said, "Oh shit, okay, this is what's up." So we had to make some moves. We had to do called capital investments. You know, you sit back, you have to invest, put capital into your people. You're going to get a great return. Deficit spending. Well, they didn't have a lot of big huge deficits then, but that's what we have to do actually today, and start putting more money in education and really start putting an emphasis on that, because that's where we're going. We're moving into a technical society.
Well, do you see that happening with the way in which basically China is about to pass us up? You know what I mean? Because it looks like history.
China the same deal, and they've raised about close to 100 million people out of poverty in less than 30 years. We've not seen this in the history of the human species. We haven't seen it. Okay,
well, that's what's going on.
That's what's going on. Okay, but we're not pushing this here in this country. The people who are running this bitch are fucked up, and they really just. I don't know. I know they're psychotic, but I think a lot of people are psychopaths. I think they think they're good people. But
part of the problem that this was China had a very nationalist plan designed to lift its people out of poverty. On the other hand, here in America, you would need a collective effort, and this would have to go across all ethnicities to really push an idea where you're having income parity, where the jobs of today need at least a 30 to 50% increase in salary to keep pace with both inflation and just in general cost of living.
I'm just gonna say this to you millennials out here who are making a move. By the time you guys get full of power and run the game, I'll be dead and gone. But or I may be here, old ass dude walking around talking about walk me to the toilet real quick. But before that day, you guys get in power here. Y'all gotta change this shit. Y'all motherfuckers get up in here. Y'all start getting in power. I'm telling you, a lot of y'all should be running for Congress. A lot of y'all 30 years old. 29, 30 years old, y'all should be out here, man. GoFundMe on these. Just do GoFundMe anywhere, YouTube, whatever the fuck, and jump out here, start running for office. Start getting yourselves into some of the business of power here. Y'all got to turn this shit around.
I'm gonna be the first candidate that funds
y'all got to turn this shit around.
I'm gonna be the first candidate that funds his campaign with super chats. So.
Man, I'd say that may be funny, but I tell you what, if you get out there, I got a G for you. Let me tell you, right now, we look at this Ocasio young girl and all that, people laughing at her. She's right. Yeah. She's right to be out here. I don't care what anybody says. She's out here running around here, spitting at guys, talking shit, getting live, because she's got to change her shit up. You're damn right. That's what's going on. What's going on is a fucking crime. I'm sorry. I'm talking as a father right now. This shit is a crime. It's a crime. This shit is criminal. Fucking criminal. Most of you guys are my kids' ages, 35 and under. And you're sitting up in here freaking worrying about this, that, and the third, when it shouldn't be like this. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be like this. I mean, it's crazy. Millennials are serfs, well-fed, well-educated serfs. Serfdom. That's what we got. That's what we got relegated to this generation. Unacceptable. Fucking.
And I will say this last thing that I'm gonna mute up right quick just for all my millennials. You know what I mean? Like that have kids like myself. Like I said, I'm 35, got a 6-year-old son. Everything I believe that was Nagon that was speaking. Everything he said is 100% true. But before I leave out, I want to say make sure that we stacking up for our children. What I mean by that is like, I've just started investing in precious metals. You know what I mean? Like, but getting like the physical stuff. But make sure you're getting precious metals and all that good stuff. Make sure you diversify your stock portfolio, cryptocurrency, all that. But like I do all that to give it to my son. You feel what I'm saying? Like
all that's key, but you got to change policies here, fam. The policies got to change. How this money is flowing has got to change. That's got to change. How the cash is flowing has got to change. That's got to change. Your son and all that, we're all gonna do good. He'll be more of a special case. If we're looking for everybody to kind of come off, All right, and everybody gonna be a zillionaire. We ain't talking about that, but people getting a fair shake out here. The way this money is flowing has got to change.
Tax policy.
It's got to change. That's got to change, and that's political. All right, that's good because that's what's coming off. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. You all got it.
No, I was just going to mention as well that Chavez actually lifted 5 million people out of poverty in Venezuela between 2001 and 2005. Sure
did. The same thing with Lula and them over in Brazil.
Yep. Took
10 million people out of poverty, out of there, moves them up, and then they're trying to turn it right back around again. You think that's why they don't want you voting up in here. Why they don't want you voting? Because that shit works. That shit is important. So you can't lose sight of it. Y'all millennials got to get out here in this political game as well. Y'all got to start getting up in the state houses and get up in this federal government. Y'all got to get up here. Y'all got to change this shit. Y'all got to be radical as fuck and start changing this shit. I'm down with that. I'm down with some radical ass youngins coming up in there. Sorry, that's how I feel. Fuck it, radical ass motherfuckers. Get up in there. Get your asses up in there. I am with you.
All right, let me get to this next article real quick. This one is from MarketWatch.com. I'm 38 with $315,000 saved for retirement, but have $30,000 in debt. Should I lower my 401k contributions to get rid of that debt? What do you think should be done to this man's or this person's debt?
Is this a gentleman?
I think this is just a person. I'm not. They don't really specify gender.
Me, if you're gonna ask me, you know my answer is write it all off. Right. Forget all that. Write all that shit off.
Yeah. I would agree with
somebody is Jack Bonin in their yacht behind that.
Yeah.
Jack Bonin.
Somebody getting paid off for this person being in debt.
Somebody Jack Bonin, nasty doggy style, in his yacht behind that. Fuck that.
You know, and you're kind of entering he or she is not quite there yet, but you're kind of approaching that age, man, where health issues can start to pop up, and you're just one goddamn medical crisis away from bankruptcy. Unfortunately, in this country, if you get sick and if you get acutely sick, deathly ill, and you need some serious medical care, it might bankrupt you. Most likely will. So, in the case of this gentleman, I get somebody right there. Man, write this shit off. Somebody's making money off of that person being in debt.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question because there really isn't enough details about what his income is and what like his reciprocal debts are. Like, what is he spending his money on?
But that's not what he's asking though, right? He's asking, should I lower my 401k contributions to get rid of that debt?
But see,
absolutely not.
But see, that's the point because, depending on how much he makes versus how much he was spending each month, he may not have to lower his 401k contributions. He may need to just cut out some of his other expenses.
Pay for some other places, yeah.
So I mean that's what the point. And also, a lot of people, they're complaining about debt, but then you look at the amount of hours they're working. It's like you're not even hardly working any hours. Like if you're working 40 hours a week and you complain about debt, it's like, well, what are you doing with the rest of the week? Like, I mean, there's so many more out. Like, you'll be amazed at how productive you could be if you really put your mind to it. And then people don't want to work smarter. Like I have people that I work with, right? And so when I talk to them, they talk to me about finance and stuff like that. And I look at their situation, it's like, okay, so now you got a job here. You're working, 36 hours here at this job. Then you go to another job and you're working, a shift here, a shift there at the other job. But it's like, well, when you go to the other job, you're starting from ground zero. But if you pick up a shift here, you'll be in overtime. So it makes more sense to pick up a shift where you work already, where you put most of your hours in instead of picking up a second job, especially when there's shifts available right where you work.
But Triz, you got to understand, you cannot depend on overtime. That's if a company is giving overtime, that means they're not doing something right. Overtime usually doesn't last forever, and people get messed up planning their finances around overtime.
In a hospital, there is always overtime. I don't care what they do. There's never enough staff, period. Like literally,
Facts.
like, let me tell you something. When I got ready to buy my property, from May to June, I worked 32 days straight in a row. Not one day off, 32 days.
Damn, that's killer right there, man.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's killer.
And then when I got done, right, they was like, okay, the whatchamacallit came through, and and they said, it was like this big thing about breaks and stuff like that. People working too many hours, so they said, well, we can't allow you to work that many hours, right? So you can only work 3 days a week or whatever the case would be, right? They came back to me the very next day and said, can you pick up some shifts? After they told me that. And so then I ended up working from then on, I worked 5 days a week. So I was picking up two extra shifts every week. That's how I bought a fourplex in Seattle, not outside of Seattle, in Seattle. So I know they talking about they financial issues, but listen, let me tell you something. If you put your grind on, it's possible.
No, that's what's up. And to what Super True just said, if you're in a hospital, man, there's always shifts. That's how it is. I mean, somebody's always calling on. ICUs are always short staffed. I mean, especially ICUs. ICUs are always hella short staffed. So, that's just always going to be the nature. So if you're in healthcare and you're working inpatient, there's always going to be room for extra hours all the time.
All right, let me jump to this next article from Wall Street Journal. Thousands of housing vouchers for homeless veterans go unused.
I read that article earlier today.
Mm-hmm. Rising rents across the country and hiring difficulties at the Department of Veterans Affairs have left unused thousands of housing vouchers designated for homeless veterans. Last week, officials testified at a congressional hearing that 11,000 vouchers remain unused. They cited a number of issues, such as a shrinking number of homeless veterans, which makes it harder to find people eligible to use the vouchers. More than 100,000 of housing vouchers for veterans are currently allocated to public housing authorities. So this is behind the paywall. But I find it interesting that Skid Row seems to have a good portion of veterans.
That's bullshit, man. Talking about a shrinking number of homeless veterans. Are you goddamn crazy? I was just talking about this with Jesus earlier today, man. Mm-hmm. I regularly volunteer, do work at homeless shelters, man. And at least a quarter of the cats I'm seeing are veterans. So I mean, this is that is wholesale BS. The problem is that you don't have enough. You don't have case managers to manage the various cases, the various veterans that are in the system that would need these services and would be in need of those vouchers. So again, that's why they're going to use. I mean, they start off by talking about the fact that they don't have enough personnel at the VA to be case managers, and two, to process those claims, because of course it's government, so there's always going to be a bunch of paperwork involved. So the fundamental problem is that you're seeing this idea where we don't think that government has a role, and government certainly has a role, and certainly owes its damn duty to making sure that folks who are in the armed services are not sitting out here on Skid Row and living under viaducts and living under overpasses like I saw in Atlanta. So this is kind of one of these things that I'm not gonna go on and on, because this is one of these things that really gets under my skin. So
yeah, Johnny Blades is confirming your name, confirming your statement in the chat. So
well, I mean, and also, the actual process is convoluted. Anybody that's ever filled out any type of government type stuff, paperwork, they understand how involved it can be. Let me just put it like that. And so sometimes and especially to do it right, like if you do sometimes you fill out government paperwork wrong, they'll just throw it away. They may not even notify you that the paper was wrong. You have to call up there and find out, oh, well, there was an error on the paperwork. That's why it wasn't processed. Like I've been through that myself, right? And so then it's like, okay, so Now you got to fill it out again. It's like, but sometimes you need people to walk you through it. And then also just awareness that you may be eligible for a voucher. A lot of these homeless veterans are not aware that they're eligible.
Yeah, because they get told bullshit when they go to the VA. A lot of times those VA reps, those VA counselors and case managers, a lot of times they just tell them, oh, well, you don't qualify for this. We don't have this program. They do that crap all the time.
Well,
And
why
then to top that
what's
off,
what's the reasoning for that?
because you got people at the VA hospital, you got people at some of these VA entities that should have been fired a long time ago. It's nearly impossible to get fired from a VA job, period.
Yeah, it is.
That's part of the problem. So you got people there that just don't care. They just getting the check and they know they ain't getting fired. So they could care less. And it could be any number of reasons why they could be in a bad mood. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe whatever the case, maybe they don't like whatever ethnic group you're from. It could be a whole lot of reasons why they don't really care and they don't do what they're supposed to do. And then to top that off, right? A lot of these homeless veterans actually have mental issues. So for them, they're not in their right state of mind to even pursue something like a voucher for housing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it actually goes back to we've had these conversations before, but we talked about a lot of these homeless vets. Many of them usually had bad character discharges, so bad characterization of their discharge. So these were gentlemen that got out on bad conduct discharges, other than honorable, dishonorable, whatever. And so once you get one of those discharges, you cannot get anything from the VA for the most part. You can't get there's no health care, you can't get mental health services, none of that. So these men ultimately fall through the cracks. And women as well, but mostly men in this case. They end up falling through the cracks because you do have bureaucracy. I can tell you from my personal experience dealing with the damn VA. It took me like 3 years of finding VA just to get my damn GI Bill. I had to do a congressional inquiry. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I had a friend who I lived in at the time I was living in the district of a very well-known member of Congress, Jan Schakowsky, and a friend of mine knew her chief of staff, and they got me into a meeting, and I got a chance to talk with her chief of staff, and they literally from that meeting, then a couple days later, they sent the official letter out from her office to the VA. The VA gave me a response back in 30 days, but it took me like 3 years down there just to fight them to get my GI Bill. Now, when I first got out, it took me like damn near a year just to even get established in the system. So I mean, it's straight bullshit what goes on at the VA, and a lot of it has to do with when you go through and you're filling out all this paperwork. They make you go through all this paperwork. It's a lot of rigmarole, and yeah, it gets really frustrating because you deal with folks that can't give you no answers. They sit here and lie to you. So yeah, I'm not even about to go in. So.
Yeah. Johnny Blaze has his hand raised.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Hold on, bro.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on this VA homeless thing. And Mike, I want to use your state of Massachusetts in particular. A very good friend of mine lives up there. He was a homeless vet for a little while. Mm-hmm. But they have a program up there called the Chapter 115, where they will literally give you a place to stay at a reduced rent, and they will actually give you a monthly stipend anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. Mm-hmm. Now, who would turn something like that down?
So not many. I don't see many homeless vets out here at all.
Yeah, because I mean, now this is a state-run program for the vets, and I'm sure every state is going to be different. But these things, they do exist, and like Dr. Finney saying, yeah, you gotta go through hoops to get this stuff, like crazy. But I'm just saying, these programs, they're not widely known. My buddy who's on this program, and I'm constantly, staying in contact with them. But like Dr. Finney said, they don't give you all the information because I have to constantly keep getting on this guy. Hey, did you ask this? Did they give it to you in writing? Because they'll tell you one thing, but they'll never show you in writing where the actual, like what's the regulation or what's the law that governs this stuff. It's all verbal.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, you have to track them down. Like they even have programs that you can get if you don't qualify for the GI Bill. There are programs the VA offers, like the Voc Rehab program, that will
Yes.
actually pay. They tell you, oh, it's just a job retraining. No, they will pay for you to go to college. I know guys that got PhDs off of it.
Yep.
And so, that's they don't tell you about these programs. And I can tell you where when I originally got out, I was in Chicago, and so dudes were I knew a lot of guys that were trying to get in that program, and they went through hell, man. The council straight up and down telling them to their faces, oh, well, we can only do this for you. And I'm sitting here talking with them like, no, this council lying. And a couple of those guys had actually go through one of their service organizations. So like the DAV or the American Legion, and they actually had to get them lawyers and threaten to sue the damn VA before these folks actually give them, actually start telling them the goddamn truth about these damn programs. So, I mean, yeah, it becomes real convoluted and just very bureaucratic. And as Super Trish said earlier, you can't fire these folks. These folks cannot get goddamn fired.
Hey, I want to big up on that
Congress to get rid of these damn folks.
Hey, that DAV, them folks helped me out a lot with some of my VA stuff, because when I went to the VA, trying to get some basic information, and thank God one of the guys in the VA said, look, man, we can't help you. Go to your local DAV office. Even though I work here, I don't have access to this information. The DAV folks, they know what they're talking about. So any veterans who is listening to this, they are your advocates. You need to use them.
Yeah, they have lawyers on staff. And so if you need legal representation for whatever the case is, or something where you might need the services of a lawyer, they do have lawyers available to help with that. So
yeah, that's good stuff, man. I don't know anything about it, despite the fact that my brothers are actually military vets themselves. So they do not have this problem. All right, next item on the docket is from NBCnews.com. Homeless moms evicted after a long fight to live in vacant California home. This article is a bit dated now because I saw this morning that they moved. They gave the house to the land trust and actually allowed the women to actually live there. So this is a very interesting case because this has been going on. We've been covering this type of stuff for a minute now, but people have been telling us that the economy is doing very well. Black people are doing very well in this country. I would beg to differ. A lot of, I think the majority of people who are homeless in California actually come from melanated backgrounds. So,
was this like a squatting case? A squatting
yes,
story?
it's a squatting case. But
okay.
Yeah, but the cost of housing out there is horrendous out there in Oakland. So,
well, that's because they're all being pushed out of. They're being pushed. The middle class white folks are being pushed out of San Francisco because you have all these high income earning Asians coming into San Francisco, and they're pushing all these middle class white folks out of there, and they're going into Oakland, and they're displacing all the black folks.
Well, I mean, this, I hate to go off on a tangent, but this kind of plays into, the circulating topic on YouTube. I don't even want to get specific, but you guys kind of get where I'm going with this, because you understand the climate, the economic climate. So it behooves you to form alliances. Now, obviously, a big part of humanity is coupling. So, formulating an actual alliance with somebody, whom you can have an actual trajectory with, a positive trajectory. So, every decision you make, you're held accountable for. So people want to make mistakes, even though a lot of times they've been told, they've been forewarned, but they got to find out for themselves. Then they make the mistake, and then it's like, well, I want to be saved now. Somebody help me. But it's like there's a lot of people who haven't made any mistakes that's struggling. So it's like we got to go help them first. People that didn't make any mistakes. Then we can come back and get you. If we have the resources left over. So, it's sad to have anybody homeless. I'm definitely not an advocate for anybody being homeless, but, at the end of the day, it's like, understanding the circumstances is like, okay, well, I got to make a decision that's going to ensure that I'm not homeless again. So, I may have to make some compromises as far as, who I associate with. Maybe I aspire to associate with somebody who has this particular characteristic, but the characteristic I need is stability. So let me align myself with somebody who has a somewhat stable situation, or a situation that I can contribute an element of stability to. Mm-hmm. So that way we're stable together and weather this storm.
Now, I was going to say, Mike, you said you thought it was the majority of people of color who were homeless in California. That's crazy, because isn't the Black population less than 5% in California?
5% now, but at one point it was 35% not too long ago.
Nah, yeah, that's just crazy to me that such a small, portion of the population is represented in the homeless population.
Well, the population of African Americans in California are concentrated into the major. You gotta realize California is a big state. So there's a lot of areas where the population a little bit more spread out. But the concentrations of Black people happen to be in areas where the cost of living is exorbitantly high.
That's true.
So you live in these areas like my sister, my sister lives in California right now. She lives in Rancho Cucamonga, and she would just tell me about how what happened in California is that most of the Black people living so my parents came from the South. They migrated to California. That's where my parents met, because my dad was from Arkansas, my mom was from Mississippi, but they both ended up in California. That's how they met. So my parents originally lived in Los Angeles, right? I was born in Long Beach. Then my parents moved to Long Beach. Then my parents, because of the actual rising gang violence, they wanted to move me to the suburbs. So that's how I ended up in Fontana, which is about 45, 50 miles away from LA, right? And so I ended up living out there. So a lot of people got the same ideal. Either it's because of they want to evade gang violence, or they found out that, hey, if I move to Fontana, if I move to Moreno Valley, if I move to Palmdale, Victorville, I can get a house 3-4 times the size of what I got in LA and still have some money left over. So that's what they did. But what happened is that you moved out there, and we all know that most of the wealth built in America is through real estate. So you moved into an area where, yes, the property values, you're able to get more for your money. But here's the thing. The property value didn't appreciate like it did in LA. So even though the house in LA was smaller, the actual year-over-year increase in property value was exponentially higher. Mm-hmm. Then to top that off, you had to commute still to LA to make any real money. So now people lose money, and they're burning the candle at both ends. And so now, these houses are so expensive there, you can't afford to move back. People want to get near the jobs now in LA. So what they have to do, they have to get an apartment. Yep. Well, you get an apartment and you get there, and of course the actual first month is going to be attractive. They're going to say, oh yeah, for first time leases, because that's why a lot of these apartments don't advertise their prices, because they're afraid the tenants that actually live there will be upset. Because what they'll find is that you'll be a tenant, you could live in a place for 5 years, right? You may be paying $1,500 a month, but then you look online and you see the apartment that they're advertising is only $1,100, $1,200 a month. And you're like, well, why am I paying $1,500? I've been here. I'm a loyal, but see what they do is they do that to attract people. They get you an apartment, right? Then they start raising the rent year over year. You know how I know this? Because this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing the same game they playing. I'm raising the rent every chance I get. And so what happens is that eventually you get to the point where you can't afford the rent, but then it's too expensive to move out because you got to have money to move. So it's like you stuck. And then eventually you start missing, getting late on rent. Like I got somebody right now. He's late every month on rent. I already see it coming. I'm gonna have to evict him.
Well, you got to go to the court to get an order for that.
Later and later. So we'll say that again.
You got to go to the court to get an order for that.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be evicted. I'm gonna do what I got to do. But no, right now he's still paying. He's still paying. He has to pay. He pays late. He pays the late fee. But it's like, you keep getting late. Eventually you're gonna miss a month and miss another month, and then the next you know you're homeless. That's how I start.
I was going to ask, there's nothing in place that says you can only raise the rent like X% each year?
Well, I raise the max. I raise the max.
I think in San Francisco, they just instituted a rent control act or whatever in San Francisco. They just put a new one in place. I think started at the beginning of the year. So there's a few places across the country that do that. But I've talked about this book before, but I think brothers should consider it. There's uh, a book called Evicted. Like I said, I had to read it when I was an undergrad. It's a good book. If you really want to see it talks about the rental crisis in Milwaukee, but it's kind of really a template for what was kind of going on across the country in general, as it pertains to black folks and rent and evictions. So just something interesting, brothers, should check out.
Let's go to Thalia. 30 seconds, Thalia, before we go to the next article.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted a quick question. Is how people, because I heard an article saying more and more people are moving out of California. How is California gonna handle that crisis? Because of the policies and the increased taxes and the housing taxes being dysfunctional. That's all.
Yeah, it's not so much of a big deal to California because they're, because they're pretty racist out there anyways. But it's not just black people moving. It's actually the tech companies are all leaving California and going to Texas. So that's where they're seeing the pinch, right? They're seeing a lot of their the jobs that were once there for those people, 800, 1,000 jobs per company, leaving and going to Texas. That's a big deal for California because then you have a tax fallout as well that precipitates with it. So that's their California state's biggest concern is a lot of those tax-paying residents are leaving because the companies are leaving. I don't think they worry too much about black people all that much, despite Maxine Waters finger waving and wig shaking.
Wait, Mike, why are companies leaving California? Why are the tech companies leaving?
No taxes, Texas.
Taxes. They get a lot of tax benefits as they're moving to Austin. Yeah, they're pretty much turning Austin into the next Silicon Valley.
Oh, so Texas is giving them big tax abatements, been basically like 10 years, no taxes.
Well, you don't pay
like that.
tax in Texas.
You don't pay. There's no state tax in Texas.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, Texas has a lot of land for dirt cheap.
And then California is not employer friendly. So, like, with the union, the existence of the unions there, like, you're going to be taking a loss as far as actual revenue, or not necessarily just revenue, but actually your expenditures for your payroll is going to be immensely higher in California.
Yeah, so that to answer your question, Thalia, that's what's going on. I mean, based on the amount of trimmers that California gets on a weekly basis, man, I don't think they're going to be there in the next 100 years anyways. Probably break off a bit.
Of course, Arizona's going to be beachfront property.
At some point. Yeah. All right. Next one from CNN.com. Man says bank racially discriminated when they refused to cash checks from discrimination settlement. What a double whammy this is for this dude, man. Let me bring the going in. A man is suing a Michigan bank for racial discrimination after he says the staff refused to deposit settlement checks from another racial discrimination case and called the police on them. Something else was afoot here. The man's attorney, Deborah Gordon, told CNN affiliate WXYZ. What kind of fucking news station is that? And in my opinion, there's only one thing: banking while black. Santori Thomas, a 44-year-old African-American man, went to a TCF bank branch Tuesday to open a savings account and deposit checks from the settlement in a recent racial discrimination case against his former employer. His complaint says he already had a checking account at the bank. A bank employee immediately appeared suspicious, the complaint said. "How did you get this money?" the employee asked. She refused to deposit the checks into Thomas's account and called the police to report that Thomas was attempting to deposit fraudulent checks, the complaint said. 10 minutes later, police walk in and they said, "Hey, sir, can we talk to you?" And I was shocked. I was like, "Who, me?" Thomas told the news station. 4 police officers arrived at the bank and questioned Thomas and his attorney over the phone about the checks. TCF Bank filed a police report for a check fraud against Thomas, the complaint said. He left the bank and went to another where he successfully deposited his checks and where they cleared the next morning, the complaint said. We apologize for the experience Mr. Thomas had at our banking center. TCF Bank said in a statement to CNN, local police should not have been involved. We strongly condemn racism and discrimination of any kind. We take extra precautions involving large deposits and requests for cash. And in this case, we were unable to validate the checks presented by Mr. Thomas, and we regret we could not meet his needs. I find that to be interesting since the checks were already cashed somewhere else at a different bank. What do you need to verify these checks?
Well, I mean, this is a patron of the bank. It's not somebody that randomly walked in. He actually had an account at the bank. So for them to put him through so much rigmarole just to cash his check, and this, you know, this event mirrors another event that happened. I don't know if it was this week or last week. There was an actual bank patron who actually filmed. So basically, it was an actual employer who banked at a particular bank, and through his bank, he pays his employer's checks. So the checks were issued from that bank by the employer. So he distributed his checks to his employees. So I think he said he had like 15 employees. He said all 15 employees went to the bank, cashed their checks, except the one employee that was Black. And they wouldn't let him cash the check. And so the employer went up to the bank. This is all videotape. He had this camera phone. And so he went up to the bank, and it was the employer was like, I don't know if he was Hispanic or whatever he was, but he went up there with his Black employee and was was very upset with the bank for giving his employee a hard time. But it's like, that type of stuff happens. But see, the thing about it is that, it's one thing for people who are not of ADOS descent or whatever you want to call it, to actually deny the existence of racism and racial discrimination. But when you have Black people deny it, that's even worse. Like, now, I'm fortunate enough to not experience racial discrimination too frequently, but I know it exists. And I will never get to the point where I say, oh, well, that doesn't happen. That's just you, or ask, well, what did you do wrong? Like that type of stuff. Like as though if people don't do it just because. Yeah. Because I'm sure if you look in the comment section, I don't know on this particular site, but like on the Yahoo site, because Yahoo, like you can leave comments underneath the articles. So on the Yahoo site,
Yahoo Stormfront.
I mean, if you saw the comment section, it's littered with utter nonsense. People saying, well, I bet he went in there with a do-rag on. I bet he, all kind of nonsense. Like, it's like, it's sad.
Yeah, because they're real people that are leaving these comments, not bots or anything like that. I bank Black. I have One United. I've never had these problems. In fact, they bend over backwards just when I come in there.
Well, Yahoo has always been like Stormfront. So I mean, I wouldn't even call it light, man. Is there any article on there about Black person? Boy, you read the comment section on the Yahoo article, and it pertains to anything Black. Oh, it just brings out all the keyboard white supremacists. But I guess the question about this story is about, where the hell did the cops get off even questioning the lawyer and the employee and this gentleman, excuse me? I hope he's suing the bank. I hope he's suing the police department too.
Yes, another check.
There was no real reason to if they didn't even present evidence as to why, he was committing bank fraud. Where the hell did the police get off questioning him or even suspecting him of fraud? So he should be filing, if he's filing a discrimination lawsuit, he need to be filing with the damn police department as well.
Yeah, your mic is breaking up a lot, Dr. Phoenix. You might want to adjust your mic.
Hey guys, it's Joe. How's everyone?
Hey Joe, what's going on, bro?
All right. My service keeps on going in and out, so I apologize if I keep on getting kicked off. But can I chime in on this? Because I used to be a banker.
Yes,
I used to work at I used to work at Chase, and that story has it has a lot of holes, man. And the reason why I say that is because usually typical bank practice is if there's a large check that is going to be deposited, right? We just put a longer hold on it to make sure that all the funds clear. Especially if you have an account at the bank, we don't usually walk you away like, hey, you can't deposit your check. First of all, you can just go up to the teller and deposit his check. So I'm just like, is he trying to cash the check or was he trying to deposit the check? Because it just put a longer hold on it if he's depositing the check.
Is that limited to anything less than $10,000?
It's discretionary as far as putting a hold on a check. It depends on how big the bank is. I mean, how big the check is and what kind of activity that bank, because even though each bank is different, each bank is all tied, but banks keep a certain amount of money in the bank to cover the monies that are that can get withdrawn. Like say for instance, you yo, I'm gonna go to the bank. I got 300 in my account. I'm gonna go pull it out. You need to call a bank several days in advance to let them know that, because they don't carry that kind of cash. They don't have that much money sitting at the bank like that. They have a reserve amount for each person on average, and they know how much to keep there. So they would just put a hold on the check for a little longer.
Yeah, 7 days.
Right? And most banks, depending on how big the check is, and then B, it just sounds like there's some foolishness or something is missing, because you just put a longer hold on it unless he wanted to cash it, right?
He wanted to deposit it into a savings account.
Yeah, so you don't even need to sit down with anyone. You can put that in an ATM, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? You already have an account.
He might be in the local branch, but what I'm saying here is that it's not unfathomable that this type of stuff does happen to Black people, especially Black men going into these sort of institutions, these small institutions. I know I had that problem a while back myself, but not to that extent where somebody had to call the police on me. I have seen the police get called on other Black men though, who try to deposit checks and things like that.
You know what's funny about that? The article says, and I know you read this, it says they filing wire charges on them. You can't file a charge unless you're arrested, right? You get arrested and then you get charged. He didn't get arrested, he got questioned. You understand why it's it sounds so who wrote it? You know?
You can file charges without somebody being arrested. I mean, that's not.
You can't file a charge. You can't file a charge per se, not a charge, right? You can file a complaint, exactly. You can't file a charge, right? You think about it.
With an entity, and the entity can file charges. But my question, Mike, see, what I'm thinking is maybe he went in that bank, maybe he was wearing Aldo shoes. you think he might have been wearing Aldos?
You're a fucking fool, man.
You can't help yourself, can you? You can't help yourself, can you?
Oh my God.
Damn, you're a fool, man.
Yeah, that story doesn't sound like those Yahoo. I don't know if that's a Yahoo article. Hopefully, it's not. It is?
Yeah, CNN.
Okay, CNN. Okay, because those articles be they just sound so put together, they don't have all the information.
Yeah, sometimes it is cobbled together, but I have seen it myself. Anecdotally, I've seen it myself. So it doesn't surprise me in places like Michigan or Wisconsin, Black people are mistreated like this in these institutions. So,
well, I'm in Wisconsin. I don't even bank in Wisconsin. So,
yeah, I don't know if there's any Black banks up there, man.
Actually, there is. There is. I mean, there is one. I don't personally have an account with them, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely urge people to bank Black if you can, even if it's just for a savings account.
You know something about that? Like I tried, like I would think it was like last year, or the year before, when like all the hip hop guys was like saying, "Hey, go open an account. Go open an account."
Yep.
I tried opening like 2 different bank accounts, and these banks would not call me back. Granted, they weren't in my state. I tried to open up an account with this one of the best banks that I researched out there. It's called Industrial Bank. It's a black-owned bank out in I believe it's in DC. It's a great, like they have great rates. They have great everything. Yo, for the life of me, they would not call me back to open an account. I tried doing it online, nothing. I tried calling them, they would never call me back. Then I went with like one of the bigger banks that's like always advertising, and I forgot that big guy in Atlanta, Killer Mike. He was advertising it. I tried to open an account there, same bullshit, man. Same bullshit. I could not open an account.
I never had that problem, but I guess it's a exception.
It's a color thing. It's a color thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
I guess it's an exception. It's an exception because I guess I could have tried harder, but time is money, and I don't have no time to waste like that,
Yeah. Let me get to this next item before we go to MOT's live stream. All right, this is from Bloomberg.com. NYC moves to ban cashless stores and blow to Visa and MasterCard. New York City is joining San Francisco and Philadelphia in banning stores and restaurants from rejecting cash as a form of payment. The city council approved a bill by a vote of 43-3 Thursday that prohibits the practice and this is grammatically wrong, and prevents New York City retailers from charging customers who pay with cash more than those who don't. Violators could face penalties as much as $1,500. The bill still needs approval from Mayor Bill de Blasio, who supports it. A growing number of businesses embrace the so-called cashless movement, arguing that it improves safety at stores and eliminates risk associated with employees taking cash from the bank, attached to the bank. In 2017, Visa Incorporated upped the ante by offering 50 restaurants that agreed to ditch cash at $10,000 reward to spend on marketing and point-of-sale technology. But the movement has faced criticism from advocates for low-income consumers who say a store's decision to stop accepting cash can exclude people who don't have access to credit and debit cards. Funny enough that these same people would have the latest iPhone or Samsung Galaxy. Unbelievable. There's a rising tide of businesses that refuse to accept cash and will only accept credit or debit. Councilman Richie Torres, who sponsored the bill, said on Thursday, "We in the council have real concerns that an increasingly cashless marketplace could have a real-world discriminatory effect on low-income communities, especially communities of color that lack access to credit or debit. The vast majority of stores still accept both cash and card, with 92% of Square's Incorporated sellers in New York City accepting both forms of payment, according to a 2019 study by the payments company. MasterCard said in an email statement that it believes electronic payments deliver great value to an email statement. Sorry. All right. Well, here's the deal. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Gas stations have been doing this for a long time. If you look at the pump, it always says, the lowest price of the gas for cash, and for those of us who want to pay for credit, man, we have to pay an exuberant amount. So they didn't have any problem with that, but when it came down to credit, all of a sudden, people can't, they don't like that. The thing is, EBT, transitional assistance cards and things like that, that's what Black people, low-income people use. They don't actually use cash. Very few places that they ever pull out cash for. And the only place they do that is at the liquor store, because the liquor store doesn't accept those the state cards.
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
Mike. You get a lot of
hashtag facts.
Liquor store.
Crazy. But hey, Mike, but think about a lot of hairdressers and barbershops. They don't like taking credit cards either. Most of them.
Oh, they use Cash App. They use Cash App.
Well, I don't know. I've paid my barber in cash, man. I've always paid my barber in cash, and that's the only time I would probably legitimately have cash on me. Yeah.
Nah, my barbers, all of them take Cash App. They don't take cash.
Hey, Jesus, does Aldo take cash?
Actually, T. Jones bought it for me.
This is the motherfucker, man. Damn.
Oh, geez, that's so funny.
Yeah, my barber's kind of old school like that. He does do the cash app thing, but I don't. I just always give him cash. So
You know what? This is the same thing that happened with the Amazon store, where you walk in the store and it automatically charges your account. The argument was that it discriminates against low income people who don't have, who rely on cash for most of their payments, and so they have to kind of. I think they had closed it for a second. I don't know if they revamped it or what. I haven't been there since, but.
No. The thing is, that's why you have like Apple and Amazon. They all come up with these sort of store-based cards, right? These Apple cards and stuff like that. Coincidentally enough, like I said before, poor people tend to have the latest Samsung Galaxy and the latest iPhones and shit like that. People driving around in fucking Infinities talking about, well, what about those people? What about them? What about them? I mean, they seem to be driving around just fine, man. The reason why you see Infinities in the hood a lot is because the credit score rating that you need to get an Infinity was like 580 or something like that.
Too high. It's too high.
Really?
Yeah. You don't need you just need a heartbeat, man, to get a car, man. And the nicer the car, I mean, the worse of the hood, the easier it is to get a car because they know they have that car. Soon as you miss one or two payments of crazy high interest, they have that car and they'll be making so much money on it. Because
we talked about this before last year on this live stream on the economics live stream, man. I knew somebody who their mother did not make any payments on the car for a whole year, man. They were putting blankets and sheets and shit all over the car to keep it people man from finding it.
Was it all
find that car, man?
Hey, you get a car now, 84-month payments.
Oh, not 84, man. Now they're up to 112 months.
Oh,
wow.
112 months for a car note? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a mortgage, man. You can buy a house in less than that time, pay off a house in less than that time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know some guys that own car dealerships, and they would tell me this, that they expect when folks with obviously a lot of the hood folks because of the credit rating, they expect when those folks buy cars, they're gonna repo it within 2 or 3 months, take the car back, then resell the damn car, and the next person is gonna default on the damn car loan, and then they're gonna repo it. So they just it's a cash cow.
Yeah, if you look at the Carfax report, you'll see like it went through 2, 3, 4 owners within a few years' time.
Yeah,
but at least with a car note, you actually get to drive the car, while you're paying for it, even though it's not paid off yet. But when you go to Aldo and put your shoes in
Hey, Super Tricks. Hey, I had a student of mine. This guy was paying on 3 different cars. He had 3 different car loans he was paying on. He only was able to drive 1 car. The other 2 got repoed.
Oh shit!
Why would anybody sign up for something like that?
But who allowed him to?
So here's the deal, man. Short version: the 1 car was his. The other 2 belonged to his mom. His mom got him repoed. Basically, she didn't pay her. The son, he was ex-military. He co-signed on his mother to get the first car. The second car she bought on her own, but she put him on the loan with her.
Man, you better put that old ass broad on foot patrol. You better stop playing with me, man.
Get her a Lyft. Get her an Uber.
Yo, I just wanted to say something. This is funny because back like 10 to 12 years ago when I was I was working at the bank. The car dealers they would sell cars where they had a something in the car where you had to make weekly payments.
Yeah.
And if you didn't pay it on the week of, let's say the Friday, they wouldn't give you the code and you couldn't start the car. So every week these people had to make payments on these cars so they could get a code every week, a new code, so they could start the car. They don't make the payment,
Whoa.
they can't start the car.
That's
And this was on an old ass car too. It was like a 92 Accord and like 2010. They were making like $250 a week payments because they needed a car to get around. I'm like, yo,
On a Honda Accord? Are you serious, man?
Hey, Mike,
on an
hey, Mike,
old ass
we got our new
Honda Accord.
Oh God.
Hey, Mike, we got our new startup company.
Which is that?
What he just said, selling cars and putting the code on it. You program the code. I'm buying the cars. No, really, man. We trying to get this money.
You go put this on blockchain, man.
Yeah.
No, imagine, Triz, if you put a code on our shoes.
Oh my God.
No, actually, what you do is you put a RIF ID. So if somebody has Aldo's shoes, they can't get in the car.
Oh man.
You ain't gonna never live that one down to Jesus.
I can't read the articles. Oh man, this is from Yahoo, man. Bed Bath & Beyond is closing 40 stores in 2020. So I think there's a list. Yeah, there's a list of stores right here. California, Connecticut, DC, Florida, Hawaii, Iowa, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland. Surprised that so many stores in Illinois were closed. 3. New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Ohio.
Well, they had that real popular one in downtown Chicago. That one closed, and then they turned it into that big Starbucks or whatever, that really large one. I forget what they call it. But.
Texas and Wisconsin. I don't know what that is, Racine.
Yeah, that's probably about 20 minutes from it.
Yeah, I've heard of that city before. I mean, it's just, online. I mean, that's where it's at. Like, I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond is just, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, I think when we talked about this a few weeks ago, I mean, we discussed like how you can find a lot of those items in Bed Bath & Beyond. You can find them at like cheaper stores like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or stuff
Big
like
lots.
that. Yeah, big lots. Yeah. So I mean, this is just kind of what it is. It is what it is.
All right. Last item on the docket is from Bloomberg. Banks are handing out beefed up credit lines no one asked for. It might sound like a risky strategy at a time when millions of Americans are drowning in debt. Keep raising the limit on people's credit cards, even if they don't ask. But that's exactly what big banks have been doing lately to turbocharge their profits, leaving customers with potential to rack up even bigger monthly bills. For years after the financial crisis, Capital One Financial Corp resisted that step for customers who look vulnerable to getting in over their heads. In internal conversations, Chief Executive Officer Richard Fairbank characterized the restraint as a radical theology, in part because it went beyond post-crisis requirements, according to a person with direct knowledge of the discussions. But then Capital One, known for its "What's in your wallet" slogan, reversed course in 2018 after the bank came under pressure to keep revenue growing. The company's revenue reached a record last year. The same reversal is playing out across U.S. banking. As more customers get unsolicited access to additional credit in what's becoming a new golden age of plastic, the goal to get customers to borrow more. The question, just like in the heady 2000s, is how it will end for the lenders and borrowers alike. Research shows many customers turn higher limits into debt. And the greater the debt, the harder it is to dig out. It's like putting a sandwich in front of me and I haven't eaten all day, said Deontay Jones, a 27-year-old rapper known as the Mafia in Houston, who was close to
That shit
hitting.
is so damn cliche.
That threw me off. It threw me off for a second. I was like, this can't be real. Deontay? Really? I wonder if Ty City knows him. Nearly doubled his spending limit a year ago without consulting him. He soon borrowed much more. How can I not take a bite out of it? It's like always think about food. The banks say the increases are good for customer service and that they raise spending limits carefully, discourage reckless borrowing, and let customers reverse the increases at any time. Whatever the case, the immediate result is clear: debt and lots of it. Outstanding card borrowing has surpassed its pre-crisis peak, reaching a record of $880 billion at the end of September, according to the latest data from the New York Fed's Consumer Credit Panel. The boosting profit at top lenders like Capital One, JP Morgan, and Citigroup incorporated a decade after banks cut credit limits without warning during the crunch. Capital One examines a number of factors before determining whether a customer is eligible for a credit line increase, including reviewing their credit and payment history, debt to income ratio, and ability to pay, a spokeswoman said in the statement. She said the company offers customers tools to help them manage credit wisely. JP Morgan said it makes sure borrowers don't owe too much and avoids raising limits for subprime cardholders. It's a very targeted way we grant credit line increases to credit-worthy customers who have demonstrated the consistent usage of the card and have shown strong repayment patterns. A JP Morgan spokeswoman said less than 1% of increases are reversed by customers, she said. I didn't know there was a way to say no, said Jones, the Texas rapper. He was making less than $30,000 after taxes when Chase gave him access to an additional $1,500 during the 2018 Christmas season. A lot of people would celebrate access to more money, but he said he was terrified he'd spend more than he could handle after thieves damaged his car. He tapped a full credit line and could only afford to make minimum monthly payment. How is you a rapper? You're supposed to be balling out of control, but this is you're making a bare minimum payment.
Dude, the whole damn story is cliche as hell. All the people they could have interviewed for this damn article, they interviewed some guy that's named Deontay and he's a rapper. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Well, he said it's like putting a sandwich in front of someone that was hungry and hasn't eaten all day.
That sounds like a personal accountability issue.
Well, I mean, it's all psychology at work. They know if you give it to certain, if you give a credit line increase to certain people, they know they go spend it. They go run it up, max it out, whatever. They know exactly what they want.
That's so funny though. I'm like, yo, homeboy got another $1,500. Oh my God, his life just turned around. They throwing so much money at him. $1,500.
I mean, but
how much Aldo shoes can he get with that? He just went crazy.
I mean, Hammer jumped around chicken, right?
Well,
how much Popeye chicken wings can you get? Chicken sandwiches can you get with that $1,500?
Go ahead, Dr. Phoenix.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, the story. Is just so cliche. Of all the people they could have interviewed, they interviewed probably one of these damn Instagram rappers that be on Instagram flashing all this goddamn rent money, talking about he balling out of control. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Really, can you blame the lending agencies? Okay, now let's just put things into perspective, right? So let's just say by some fluke that reparations were administered, right? And then some people decided, you know what? Let's consolidate our reparations and let's form an actual credit issuing agency, form a credit card, you know, and, you know, it'll be a highly profitable endeavor. And so, you know, as the company progresses, they would look for ways to increase revenues. This would be one of the primary means. And could you blame them? Would you expect a company, even if it was headed by or spearheaded by a group of African Americans, and a customer base was African Americans, would you expect them not to seek ways to increase revenue? Because this is the perfect way, because as you increase the actual the credit limit, you know, people buy, you know, bigger and bigger purchases. And what happens is that they just get to the point where, you know, you've already, as the credit issuing agency, you've already made the money back that they've, you know, paid for the particular product. So say for instance, they got a credit limit that's $30,000. They bought $30,000 worth of product. And you know, in the set time frame, they're going to pay $30,000 in fees. So you as a credit entity has made money. You already made your money back. So the fact that they're partially paying, late paying, you're still making money nonetheless, because after that 30,000 has been paid back, now it's all profit. So I mean, it's the perfect business model. And so my question then becomes is, you know, if given the opportunity, if Blacks were positioned to do something like this, would they and should they do it?
Oh, I think that kind of somewhat happened with the rush card. I mean, I think that's kind of what happened.
Now you know why they call it rush.
I mean,
Hey guys,
what's up?
hey guys, I just wanted to chime in on this article. That's definitely true, man. That they giving out money like it's not, well, giving out credit like it's nothing or whatever. I have pretty decent credit or whatever, and I just applied for. I haven't had a credit card in years, since like 20. I don't even remember 2007, something like that. And I applied just to see. I didn't even think I was gonna get approved because I had some house issues or whatever that I was working out. But yeah, they gave me 20 grand. And I'm like, what? Hold on, why the hell are y'all giving me so much damn money? And I barely got. I mean, I had a pretty decent credit score, but not to the point where you give me 20 grand. Yeah, so they giving it all like it ain't nothing. And some people gonna fall for it, you know what I'm saying? I still got it. I ain't never used it because I ain't finna pay that fucking absorbent interest rate on something like that. But yeah, it's they just giving it out. Them banks just giving it out, man.
So do you know Deontay Jones as well?
Nah, I never heard of that guy. From Texas, so yeah, I don't know that guy.
I think he's chopped. I think he's chopped and screwed or something like that.
Yeah.
Him and Paul Wall sitting together. So.
Oh my God.
Oh Mike, and in that earlier article, did you see that comment that somebody was in there talking about he went in the bank with playing No Limit? Something like that.
Oh wow, really?
Oh no.
Racist comment that you talking about?
I mean,
I'm just playing.
Yo, you a fool, Josh, man. You a fool. Nah, man. So here's how I do it, and then we'll go around and close out. But here's how I do it. I put all my bills onto my credit cards, and then I just pay my credit card off at the end of the month. So it's all recurring. I don't really see it. It automatically just pays it. So I don't actually tap my debit card or my savings account at all unless it's scheduled to do so. So I never ever even pull out my debit card to use any sort of point of sales operation. I always use my credit cards, and I only use the 4 networks: American Express, Master, Visa, and Discover. So I use one for each and every single particular use case. Obviously, the one with the biggest is used for rent or mortgage, and then the other is you know, the others are just used for small minor utilities like my Google Pay and stuff like that. Other than that, I don't actually use them for anything particularly serious. Yeah, I know a lot of people walk around with cash, but I can't remember the last time I actually did that.
A lot of these gift cards, you know, they're like you know, slash Visa slash MasterCards. So it's like they're trying to get in on the action too by, you know, you get the actual gift card, and then you know, then you can refill it and all kind of stuff, and then, you know, it just gets you in the habit of actually using the card at a young age.
Yeah, they did Jack and the Swag from Russell Simmons with the Rush card, right? Isn't that what the Rush card was designed for?
Well, the Rush card was more like a prepaid card where, like, you know, if people who had bad credit couldn't get approved for a card, they would actually you know, get that Rush card online, and you know, so that way they actually have access to actual credit.
Yeah, it's similar to them cards you can get at banks, where you they ask you to put money into like like they'll give you $600 in credit, but you got to put $600 in like a CD or something for a year.
That's
and
like
you have to
paying
keep
twice.
it in there. Yeah.
That's a secure credit card.
Yeah, but it's like you're
Yes.
paying twice, because I mean, you're putting money in and basically you're borrowing your own money.
Oh yeah, somebody's got to pay for those Aldos. Nah, man. I think there needs to be. Yeah, I think there needs to be a fresh look at how we deal with economics. I don't think this is not sustainable at all. You know, people running up credit cards, people. Who is this fucking ass? Who's doing this? That's stupid, Triz. Triz, you're a fool, man. You're a real fool.
But
Mike,
but I got to get them new J's.
Mike, this is very responsible. See, instead of getting a credit card, you get an Aldo gift card. I can predetermine amount. Now, let me see. Now, with $20 at Aldo, you can get about what, 4 pair of shoes?
Triz, you're a fool, man. You are a fucking fool, man. You can get 4 pairs of shoes for $20.
Oh my God! What?
Oh, Trish, you're a fucking fool, man. No, fool.
Mind you, I didn't only say Aldo. I said Balenciaga. I said Gucci.
Nah, but Trish, he showed our screen. He showed his screen, man.
I said Bally's. What y'all know about Bally's?
You're a fool, Trish, man. Damn. Yeah, no, but there has to be a new refresh look at how we look at economics, man. There's got to be a better way at managing the little bit of money, cash flow that's flowing through the community, rather than running up credit cards and you know, dodging a repo man and all that crazy stuff, man. People are just throwing their money out the window at this point. And then you have to think about home ownership, you know, because a lot of things can't get done in the Black community because Black people don't own property. So they just gentrify those people, and then next thing you know, that, you know, their interests don't matter because they're no longer there.
You know, it's funny that I was saying that how you saying how the credit, they're giving credit now, and people are complaining. They're not giving credit. People are complaining, right? It's like, what do you want, right? What do you want? Do you want credit? Build up your credit, have credit. Part of building up your credit is having credit. They're giving you credit now. Oh my God, I don't know what to do with this 1,500. I'm always maxed out. They gave me more money to max out. Then you know, on the other side of your cheek, you'd be like, yo, they don't give us no credit, man. I can't build my credit. Like you said, right? Mike, we need to understand what this credit thing is in order for us to build it, purchase property with it, purchase wealth with it, you know, because you can't do nothing in this world without credit. And when now you said that they're trying to give credit and people are complaining that, hey, you're giving out credit. I don't know what to do with myself. You know?
Well, the problem is not being taught at a young age on how to actually use credit to your advantage. And so, I mean, that's just the way I see it. It needs to be more education at a lower level to teach people how to manage their finances. I mean, and I've heard that throughout the manosphere. People talk about, financial literacy at a younger age. So that's the important thing that needs to happen.
You know what? I think a lot of these conversations and these group conversations they're talking about everything but credit and finances. You know, that's what you never hear hardly any talk about is credit, how to manage it, and finances. You know, how to manage it, and then wealth and how to build it. That's not really what goes around in the Black groups and conversations.
Try to roll with as little use of credit as possible. Business credit is one thing, but personal credit, keep that shit down to the minimum. One credit card, and if you have something like an American Express sign of travel, something else like that, that's one thing. But spending stuff, just buying shit on credit is wasteful. You're losing money on it. The bank is getting the juice. You're getting nothing, and it's crazy. It's financial disaster. Use very little credit as possible. Pretty much go with your debit card. More so than anything else. Go with your debit card for your personal finances. Keep the rest of your cash in savings. All right. And the bad thing about savings is this. The banks are giving you, since they've run up so much freaking debt, and they got torn out the frame and all this kind of stuff. So they got zero interest, all this crap going on. You got no juice on your money, so you can't put any money in the bank and make any money. Money market accounts, all this kind of stuff like that, giving you no juice. So it's almost like you're a sucker putting money into the bank. But if you're going to put it into a bank, make sure you don't spend your money because you're not making any money on it. So that's what I'm saying. The system is, as they say in Brazilian Portuguese, sistema é foda. System is effed. So
when you use your debit card, you don't get buyer protection.
Say that again.
Sometimes when you use a debit card, you don't get like buyer protection.
No, you don't. That's what
you get protection.
That's what I'm saying. For most purchases, use your debit card, but if you have to use your credit, keep it down to a minimum. Do not, because then you got fees and everything else like that on top of it, which you're getting juiced on. You're losing money on that. That's actually
when I buy my Aldos, I use my credit card. That way,
you buy your Aldos.
Oh man.
Hey. So, but we're laughing, but Aldo is a very, very convenient store because when you walk into an Aldo store, like all the shoe boxes are actually out on the store, like as opposed to them walking to the back. Kind of like Payless. When you walk in Payless, you just walk in, you just grab your own boxes. You just try them on.
No, it's not like that, Trish, man. Come on, man. Nah.
Didn't Payless go out of business?
Yeah, they went out of business. Them and Parade Shoes.
Yeah, that Aldo shit is funny. Who came up with that?
It was Trish, man.
No, that's it. Jesus, he got stock in Aldo, man.
That's funny. Yeah, but there's too much stuff out here juicing people, man. They trying to separate you from your cash, and the banks are giving you no juice on your money, and they're hitting you with fees, and you're not getting any juice on your dough. That's how fucked the system is. It's crazy. All this bailout crap and all this crapola. So they taking your money and they giving you no juice to put your money in there. What kind of shit is this? Don't make no kind of sense.
You're funny because you say you first thing you say when you start talking is like, yo, don't use the credit cards. Use only cash. Put your money in the savings account. Then you say savings accounts are giving you no money.
No, savings account
sucks.
You are getting, but you are getting fucked.
No, you're right, but you're not like you're saying like right? So I know you're a smart guy. I think most people here are like pretty intelligent. I would say what I do with my money can't stay in savings. My money's in my brokerage account, right?
If you have a brokerage account or trading account, that's fine because you can get something off it if you're trading in stocks and you're making a little bit of money.
I don't trade. I just have I have my money in certain fixed assets
How
that
much?
don't go crazy.
How much are you getting on your money? If you put it in there, how much are they giving you?
Honestly, I do around like 20% a year.
20% a year, and what counts are these? 20% on your bread? I don't know anybody who getting 20%.
I'm not talking about, this is not an interest rate. This is just return on an average. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do. But yeah, my money is in mostly technology stocks, and I'm long.
So you're trading. You're getting some.
I don't trade.
Right.
I don't trade. I buy it and I just let it sit there. You know, I just
all right.
put
So
the money in.
you're getting some appreciation on your stocks as far as you keeping your money. You're keeping your money in securities. All right, that's fair enough. I mean,
and that's what I mean by like my return. My return's like 20% because I don't trade it. I just buy it and I just sit it there. Over a year, I look at it. On average, I would say it's higher, but I don't really want to say numbers that's crazy because my average is really like 30% year over year. But I'll just be conservative and say 20%.
I mean, the market is running high right now because the super rich folks, they're throwing a lot of they're just doubling down. They're putting their money in securities. They're constantly doubling up and tripling up their stock positions. So they're doing a lot of stock buybacks and so forth. That's what's running the market up. So yeah, that'll work good. The name of the game is keep playing it that way. But the minute you start hearing shaky stuff going on, you pull your money out of stocks. You might want to put it into bonds. You're not going to be making any money on bonds either. They're not giving you that much juice there. So you might, there are other strategies you might want to use. You could put it in the metals or whatever, just to keep yourself from taking a hit, just in case the market takes another smack. I don't know if we're going to see one soon, but I suspect we're going to see some corrections going on. Certainly after Trump, when he gets back in for his second term, because I believe that he will be doing that. And we're gonna see some crashes in the market. The economy's gonna have some issues. We're gonna be looking at some recessionary things coming out, because I can see how the Fed is already rolling with their funds rate. That's not looking too good, and the repurchase program and so forth you have right now are coming in at even higher numbers. So, higher interest rates. So I'm starting, and it's not looking good. I believe that we're gonna start to see some corrections. But as of right now, I think what you're saying is kind of correct. But for those who are not trading stocks that much, or even buying stock and putting stocks away, as far as just everyday, run of the mill, do your thing. Even though the savings accounts are giving you jack, so you look like a sucker there. But put your money in the account that's not getting smacked. And you can save some cash. A lot of guys put it in escrow accounts and so forth, so they just have money sitting there that they can't touch, that they can consistently build on. But but so I'm just saying that there are a lot of different strategies. And to get, the more the more sophisticated you get, the better it can be for you. So stock market is actually looking pretty good right now because they're running it. But like I said, that's not going to run out infinitum. There will be some corrections, so you just want to keep your eyes out for that. Will it happen tomorrow? No, but I believe it will be coming over the next 18 months. That's what I believe. But anyway, that's about it. But you guys, you can obviously see, I don't like what's going on. It's a racket right now. I know this market. I understand monetary policy. I understand what's going on, and I'm just not happy with what I'm seeing. I'm not happy kind of how we got these kids out here scrapping and scraping. I'm not seeing it. I'm not feeling this at all. Hey,
Nagone,
go ahead.
Something you said earlier, you mentioned personal and business credit. And I noticed a lot of these videos I see out here about folks trying to get their stuff together. Mm-hmm. People who seem to do a lot of these videos, they seem to keep kind of mixing these two things together and not telling people what they're doing. And I think it's leading people down a very dangerous path.
Okay, I would agree with you. But anyway, go ahead.
But no, I just kind of like, what's one of the guys, I think his name is Jay Morrison, him and other people like him. But when you watch his stuff, it's like they conflate these two things, and business credit and personal credit are totally separate.
They're different entities. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all I had on it.
Maybe he was talking about getting personal with business credit. These guys talk, man. They talk 100 miles a minute, man. So you can't really.
Well, what they try to do is they try to throw a lot at you, confuse you a little bit, so you keep coming back, and they can keep, kind of, giving you little drips and drabs, because our media even our papers, our news outlets, and so forth, and then just other media, informational media out here doesn't give you any information on how the economy works, the basic fundamentals, and just what's really going on. They make sure you keep you ignorant, so you keep getting caught out in this bullshit that they got going on up in here. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about them trying to take as much money from you as possible, and generate fees, bang you out, and keep you coming back like a sucker. And that's why I say it's better for folks to really get some study time on themselves and really look at really handling their business, because you can manage your own game if you just understand the basics of what's going on. And that's the issue. A lot of people are just ignorant of what's happening, and that's white, black, green, purple, orange. It's a lot of people, and nobody's telling you, the proper way of going about things. It was like when I was a kid, and you had home economics and that kind of stuff, and they told you basically how to keep a basic checking account, a basic account, savings account. You were trained to this in junior high school up through high school. So most people who were going to leave out of high school and then start to take a job, and some who weren't going to go to college, you at least understood the actual business of running a household. Fundamentally, which is somewhat like running a business in many respects. That's not being taught in the schools at all today. So people are just ignorant of a lot of stuff. And you got these talking heads out here chopping away, talking out the sides of their asses, and people don't know which way is up. And that's done purposefully, so they can do the crap that they can pull off the crap that they're pulling. That's how I look at it. It stinks to me, man. I embrace none of it. So that's I know I've been ranting pretty much tonight. I've been in and out, but I'm just very disturbed at what I've been seeing. We're just very disturbed at this.
Yeah. MOT is live right now. I want to make sure we get over there and support him in his efforts. So thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if not already done so. Share the video if possible. Also hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. Those posts on the community tab. Just as an FYI, we do not give out financial advice here. If you want a certified financial planner, go to cfp.net. Look up one in your area. Hotel